Hello, 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 and welcome to another live stream. Well, we seem to be buffering quite a bit. I don't know why that is. Hey, we have two people and two likes. I must be popular. Yeah, I thought I would do another live stream not too soon from the last one, since I tend to be on a roll with videos recently. I've made more than one video a day recently, and it is linked to the fact that I am on 6 weeks holiday, being that I work in a school, although I do have a few little jobs on the side. Majority of the time, I am free. I'm away for about a week, in or just over a week's time, but there's plenty of content coming out throughout this month that I've made already, and it will be spread throughout this next couple of weeks. Hi Nick, hello sir. Oh Jesus Christ, just the two, just hold on. I can't see you comment. Just 2 minutes late. Well, you're more on time than most people. Usually I get one person for the first half an hour. Oh, we got three people. Blimey, this is amazing. This is going really well. Usually it takes me about 3 minutes to get somebody. I'm usually talking to an empty room. So just saying, another live stream, and I thought it'd just be a chance to catch up. Hey Dave, hello, how are you, sir? I'm not too bad. I hope you're okay, buddy. Does it beam onto your screens or something? I don't know how lives work. Does it actually promote my live before it goes live, or is it just I've gone live and then it goes onto your phones like, oh, you usually fixing tinkering's gone live? I don't know how that works. Usually I promote my live streams. Oh, it does notify you. Okay. I didn't notice the spelling mistake there. My eyes are a bit tired, Duddy. Oh, yeah, I'm all right, Duddy. There's a notification off. Okay, good, 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 good. That's good to know. That is because usually I usually promote when I'm doing a live stream just to let people know. But actually, I found that I don't really need to bother because people who want to watch it will watch it. Um, No, that's good to know. That is. Hey, we have five people watching this. Hello to everybody. I thought I'd start off with a completely. Well, I'd start off by saying I am kind of more free in the next 5 weeks because I'm on holiday because I work in a school. Um, for about a week next week, I will away. Just family, friends, and just detaching myself from YouTube a little bit. So, but there will be plenty of videos, tons of videos coming out of which I've just made, including some really interesting videos. So I can't wait. I'm sure you can't wait as well. Rutherford and some very special videos in between. Well, I think they're special, but you might think they're just stupid. Um, so no, and the topic of this live stream is what was your first car to learn in? Well, arguably we could answer this in two different ways. What was your first car that you learnt to drive in, and then your first car that you bought? Was the first car that you bought linked to the car you learnt to drive in? Because I know there's two stories to this. You either learn to drive in an absolute what you consider awful car and you hated it and you can't wait to get away from it and you never want to buy a car of that make or brand again and have gone for your first car which is something completely different, or you loved it and you've literally gone and stuck with that brand of car or that exact model in some respects, um, if your driving instructor's car is old enough. um, and how are you, sir? I have to get some beers. I'll be back. No problem. I'm not going anywhere. We've got, as I say, these things last for 2.5 hours usually, before my voice starts getting a bit croaky. Um, I'm going to call you Kay because I can't pronounce your last name and I don't want to get it wrong out of respect. Welcome to the channel, sir. You are a new face, a new name. Oh, new name. I don't know why I said that. New name. A Golf Mark 4 diesel. Now, is that what you learnt to drive in, or your first car? Excuse me. Because that's a good car to drive in. The diesels, I'm not so familiar with the Mark 1 diesels. That's quite an interesting car. Great car to start off with, to be fair. Probably one of the best Golfs going. Nick, learnt to drive in a Skoda Octavia. Well, that's a fine car. That's a good car, that is. Bit bland, but no one says anything bad about the reliability of them. And Corsa B, first car, bought it. Oh, no, hold on. Sorry, I've read that wrong. So, and a Corsa B. That's a good car to learn to drive in, to be fair. I do think Corsa Bs they do have a slight pedigree of respect from them because of just that nature of being a basic, no frills car, but they drove quite well. I think that was when GM made better cars than Ford. That late 80s, early 90s, Cavalier, the Corsa B was obviously came out in 93, but they had the Nova as well, which was okay. Cavalier and the Astra Mark III in particular, it was just when GM started making good cars. And then your first car you bought was an S-Reg Renault Clio. Mark 1. Would that be a Mark 1 Clio? I'm pretty sure it would be. They're very rare cars these days. That's not a bad first car, actually. I did see, we saw a few at the Festival of the Unexceptional. In fact, I've probably saw about 4 of them, more than I've seen in years, and they're fine cars, actually, Renault Clio. The Mark 1s. Mark 2s are dreadful. I don't know where they lost it with the style in there, but... Dave, I started off in a Fiesta Mark 5. Hey, good one. And then changed it to a Yaris. Then my first car was a very basic Peugeot 206. Not even electric windows, great little runner. So the poverty spec 206. You told me it was a 98 registration, a T registration, so it might be a 99, if I'm mistaken. That's not, no, it would be a 99, wouldn't it, on a T reg. Good cars, Peugeot 206s, towards the start. I do laugh at them, thinking they're just a bit Mr. Pringle face at the front, but they're still decent cars. They do suffer from electrical problems like most French cars, but good first car to start off with. But quite a difference, that is. I mean, a Fiesta Mark 5, good car, a really good car. With the edge styling, where they tried to make an aging platform a little bit fresher. And the Yaris, they're good cars as well, actually. I can't take to them visually, but I still see a ton of them on, like, from around 2001 still on the roads. I think that's the Mark 1 Yaris, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know too much about them because I'm not interested. But they just go, and they're very reliable cars. So good start there, actually. Decent cars to drive in. And Peugeot 206, completely different from them two. Completely different. I'm surprised you didn't buy a Fiesta, because a Yaris is not a car that would endear that much love, but you'd respect it because of its reliability. Depends. So did you, it depends as well. This is the thing. I drove 2 cars, like quite a few people when you're learning to drive. Generally, you start off maybe if your parents have got a car and they start teaching you to drive in their car, and then you get a proper instructor teaching you later on, just before you book your test. So generally, you have 2 cars, or you might switch instructors because your instructor's an ass. That's what I found with my first one. Or put it this way, no, he wasn't an ass. He just wasn't a good instructor. I think it was within 3 lessons. It was a Fiesta Mark 7 that I started learning in. And my instructor I thought he was okay at first. And then after a few lessons, we came up to a zebra crossing. And because I wasn't really visually looking, I saw someone standing at the zebra crossing right at the last second. I literally chopped on the brakes, clutched down, and the car jolted. And everything went flying. A ton of newspapers went flying because he was a newspaper reader. And he was like, "Well, what did you do that for, Andrew?" "Well, sorry, I broke late. I didn't see the person, so sorry about that." "Oh, well, don't do that again." He was on his frigging mobile. I was concentrating that much in front of me. I didn't even look on the side. I didn't see someone until the last second. Well, my instructor wasn't even paying attention to what I was doing. He was literally on his phone. I thought, I've got to get rid of this guy, because I'm not going to learn properly if he's on his phone. No offence. I mean, some people aren't bothered by that. But when it comes to passing your test, and even the driving test back then wasn't, not cheap. It was 65 quid, I think. You want to really pass first time. You don't want to keep wasting £65 at a time because your instructor thinks you're ready, but you're not. And I think you know it as well. So I changed, and then my second instructor was proper old school, very old school, and he's just retired. Actually, I found out he's just retired from driving instructing, but it was a Mark III Focus, and they'd just been released, so it was really nice to have a brand new one. It was through the AA, and I love that car. I've got a sweet spot for Mark III Focuses, so I'll be watching out for when they get cheap because I will definitely buy one. Chris, hello sir. Corsa D. Hold on. I don't like them. I prefer Corsa C's to Corsa D's. They got for me, they got gradually worse. Was that what you learnt to drive in? Right, it's what you learnt to drive in. Okay, I'll come to that second comment in a second. So it's what you learnt to drive in. That wouldn't have stood many people for good stead. I don't have. I just think they're bull crap. Corsa D's. I just can't connect with them. Corsa C's, just honestly, every single one of them with the twin port engines, they sound like they're going to rattle themselves to death. The diesel ones are even worse. They are junk. The 1.3 diesel lump. Oh no, they're dreadful. I think they fitted in Corsa D's as well. Nick, 400 quid, but about 30 things failed on MOT. The Clio. Was Rust one of them by any chance? Dave, when I bought my second car, a Mark 1 Focus, I fell in love with it, and it's been Focuses since then. Need I say more? And you said that was a diesel, was a TDCi? So yeah, I can understand that. I am I'm definitely a Focus person, but I'm not as much into Mark 2s. I think early Mark 3s are quite nice. Late Mark 2s are quite nice. But early Mark 2s is definitely one Focus I'd avoid. They just don't look right. Whoever thought that the launch of the Mark II Focus, like when they were designing it, why they thought that was acceptable? It just didn't look right. They just don't attain themselves to. It's just not attractive. Chris, first car was a 2005 Mark II Focus. Oh, exactly the one I'm talking about then. Oh dear. Oh, it's a gear, 1.6 petrol. Well, that makes it a bit better. The gear models are nice. And the gear alloys on the Mark IIs are quite stylish, actually. There was sort of a sort of redevelopment of the late gear alloys that you find on Mark 1s. And I think that they're quite nice. They're smart. But they sort of added another sort of couple of spokes in. That they are stylish, actually. Chris, I love the Corsa C. I think each to their own there, Chris. I try and... But don't get me wrong about the Corsa C. I think it was the last Corsa to feel like a small Super Mini. The D, big, fat and blobby. Mainly to compete with the Mark 7 Fiesta. But the C definitely had that old school feel to it. Just the engines were a bit... not great. Stevie, hello sir. Good evening to you and welcome to the live stream. I learned to drive in a Mazda 121. I'm old. This was 1992. Mazda 121. Now, what would it have been at that stage? Because the Mazda 121 that I know was a badge engineered Fiesta. Let me have a look. I'm trying to find out. So we're talking 1992. I just need to give myself a picture here of what it is. Oh, it's completely and utterly different. What was it based on? Oh dear. I prefer the later Mazda 121 Fiesta Mark IV. First car was a Mark II Fiesta L. Yay! Nice car. Well, certainly was. It would have been very cheap in 1992, depending if it was a late one or not. So you'd have had a few more things in the Popular Plus. So you got a rear wiper, rear heated windscreen. You got some door mirrors. That's important. Well, no, actually, you didn't get a passenger door mirror if it was a Popular Plus. You got 2, and the L was above the Popular Plus. I got that wrong actually. Chris, yes, I learned in 2018. Quite late. Oh yeah. That makes sense. Dave, there's a driving instructor around my end in a silver Mark 1 Focus gear. Every time it passes me, the learner's always got a smile on their face. I'm not surprised. That's a good car to start out with. I can't believe. Now, I need to ask a driving instructor this, but I thought there was a regulation that suggested that there's a certain cut-off point for now for cars that can legally be driving instructor cars officially, because of obviously all the safety regulation and all the bits and pieces you need to know. Personally, a Mark 1 Focus is a great car to learn to drive in, but because the amount of things that learners are required to learn, I'm not sure. I think a Mark 1 is pretty basic, although it probably is just about enough. It's really nice to know that is actually. I think Mark 2 I saw a Mark 2 Focus as a driving instructor's car the other day, 2008 facelift. And I'm thinking, that's getting on a bit as a driving instructor's car. Usually it has to be a bit more modern. But if you're a one-man band and you're trying to justify the costs, the cost of paying, let's say, a franchise like the AA for a car, it's a lot. It's a lot. But it definitely sets learners. It's a car that will set learners up for life with a car that's fun. They're most likely going to want to buy a Ford after that, or Mark 1. Well, I'd argue Mark 1s are a bit beyond it for first cars now. I wouldn't recommend a Mark 1 as a first car because they're not reliable enough now. I really don't. They're not reliable enough because most of them have not been treated very well. If you buy a good one, if you've passed your driving test and you have got £2,000, that's a good amount of money for a Mark 1. And that will get you a lower mileage, well looked after model. You'll still have the odd problem, but it's probably a worthwhile bet. Nick, yeah, rust on both the seals with the Clio, front to rear, all 4 coil springs, the suspension parts never look back on. All the suspension parts never look back on Clios. That's interesting. So that was a bit of a negative experience there. That's the only thing with that. Chris, love it. Drove amazingly. Interesting. How does it compare to a Mark 1? I know they're 2 different cars and class brackets, but how do they compare exactly? Pure Evil, hello sir, welcome again. You've made me realise I can't remember if it was a Mark 5 or Mark 6 Fiesta. Easy. A Mark 5 was the old shape, a Mark 6 was the new shape. If that helps. I learned, must have been an early Mark 6 if it was one though. There's the difference between a Mark 5 and a Mark 6 is quite astronomical. Chris, yeah, last nice course of the sea, everything after was rubbish, but the Mark 1 is my second car, yellow Focus, of course, and a bit more of a look after and enjoy, but drive it less sort of car, semi-daily, or just pleasure. That's what I meant by I like them, the last basic Corsa. Yeah, I could understand that. And they copied the Mark 1 thing. Well, arguably, and I've been pointed out this by Neil, who may watch this, who may not be, the Fiat Punto was the first car to have high-level brake light, high-level rear light clusters, and then the Mark 1 had them in a completely different style, probably more stylish, and then the Corsa copied it, the Corsa C, and then the Vauxhall Meriva copied it as well, and that's a whole car. Just looks like a rival to the Ford Fusion, but a really rubbish copy. Chris, Mark 2 feels like a big Mark 1. Mark 2 feels like... Sorry, I can't read this bottom comment because there's a bloody love heart at the bottom of this. And the love heart's coming off the comment. So, can somebody make a comment so Chris's comment can jump up? Mark 2 feels like a big Mark 1. Felt Hey, thank you, Paul. You've just pushed it up a bit. Mark 2 feels like a big Mark 1. Felt heavy, solid, just feels right. Yeah, it's more grown up, isn't it? It's more hunkered down. Mark 1 feels a bit more looser, funny, playful, childish. Whereas a Mark 2 is the adult version. A bit more sane, heavy, planted, but less fun. Less fun. Just they took something away in the Mark II, and the Mark III was even heavier. But actually, I argue with the Mark III. They added something back in the Mark III that the Mark II didn't have, and I can't put my finger on it. But Mark III's certainly feel like a Mark One, closely, but it is heavier. The main problem is my memory. I can tell you if it was silver with the 1.2, 1.25 litre engine, but I didn't see the outside very much. I'm sure I'd instantly know if I sat in one. They're two completely different cars. The Mark IV is a bit blobby. The Mark V is a bit more cutting edge, very much like the Mark III Mondeo and Mark 1 Focus. Although I'd say the Mark III Mondeo is very similar to a Mark 6 Fiesta. There's definitely something that they didn't put into the Mark III Mondeo that they transferred from a Mark 1 Focus. There's just something not quite there. Tip Top Motors. I was going to say Top Tip. Sorry for getting that wrong. Hello, welcome to the live stream. Nice to have somebody new. Hello, Andy. Enjoyed your festival, the Unexceptional. You're doing a good job. Thank you for the like there. I really appreciate it. I've got to be honest with you. The last time I went to a show and did a really good video, I was actually disappointed by the lack of views in it. Although now, since then, it's actually gone up. And I was thinking, I don't want to make this too over the top. I did skip a lot of cars because, quite frankly, there was just so much. It was so overwhelming. I couldn't tell you. This is why, actually, I think the proof is they could have sold a lot more tickets and had a lot more cars up to the back gate. But I think there's a reason why it's too big a show. It's big enough as it is, and it is overwhelming, and you don't know what to look at. I actually prefer the smaller shows where you can just feel a bit more sort of concentrated on one car at a time and not feel as if you're rushed in some respects. But, you know, I tried to film as much as interesting cars as I could. There was a lot of exceptional cars there. Arguably, Mark 1s are exceptional, but I thought it was a really good opportunity of putting at least a few in a line. And it certainly got the attention. It was in the Daily Mail online, and they photographed 6 of us coming in together, so did the trick. How about this answer to your question? A Wellesley 6 and the driving instructor's Austin Allegro, can anyone beat that? I can't picture a Wellesley 6. What? Is that a band engineered version of what? Because I know Wellesley was used as a trim rather than as a company towards the end. An Austin Allegro. Now, would that have been Cortex steering wheel or later? Was it a Series 1, 2 or 3? That's quite hard to beat. I'd say the Allegro would have been much more exciting. Depending on the engine, probably a 1.3A series, 1275. I enjoy your enthusiasm. Thank you for that. And I try to make my videos interesting and think outside the box. If any of you watch part 3, I went a bit mad and I thought it'd be quite funny. And I actually had a lot of people turn around and say, is he joking? Because I'm sure that most of you would have heard Nick laughing in the background when I actually started deliberately pretending to be someone not interested in cars who's gone to a car show. To be fair, I think there was a flaw in that, because how would a non-car person know what a Renault is or even what a Ford Transit is? They wouldn't be able to name anything. So there was a bit of a flaw in that. But a lot of people turned around to Nick and said, is he joking? And I was like, this is that's brave, because people do like, ooh, what? Is this guy for real? Some people might find that offensive, but luckily I've had no backlash from that, because I know some people really want you to be correct. Unfortunately, I didn't put it in the video, but I actually completely identified a Renault. Oh God, it was a Renault Laguna, but I identified it as a Renault Megane, because the Renault Megane from the late 90s has that same front to the Laguna. And I looked at the front and I thought, oh, Renault Megane. And the owner was like, no, it's a Laguna, come on. Oh, I can't put that in the video. I had to cut it out. That was the only car I got wrong in the entire show. It's quite embarrassing, that, because I know owners of, I'd be cross actually if somebody got my car wrong in that way. So I had to kind of not put that in, but that was the only one I got wrong in the entire show. So I did well. But people are quite enthusiastic and passionate, so I kind of have to be careful of that. But I'm glad it came across well. And the first video has achieved 1,600 views, which is a record in the first 48 hours for me. I've never had a video like that. And I'll put it this way. I've said this before about YouTubers. I don't want to change the subject. I'll get back onto what we're talking about in a second. But YouTubers often make out that they are skint and they beg people for money. And I think that is so wrong, because I'm not going to exactly say how much I've earned from these videos, but I've earned a lot of money, and more than I thought. And I'm a small YouTuber. These big YouTubers who are raking in 30,000 views a video, like the big ones that we know, I'd like to know what their income is per video, because they are earning shitloads of money. And I find it even more aggravating that I've had to unfortunately unsubscribe from some big YouTubers, because it's too much in your face now. And to be honest, I ain't got the time. And when I see some, well, I have to select what videos I watch very carefully these days, and I'm very particular. But the videos I've watched have not been good whatsoever. It is literally about chasing views. Everything I do on my channel is about the cars, and I just make the videos I want to make. I work on my cars and I share that with you guys. I would argue that there has been very little that I do that I wouldn't have done anyway, even if hadn't done this YouTubing. I'd have still restored Beatrix to the conditions. I'd have done all that off camera, but I shared it with you. So that's my channel in a nutshell for the new people that have subscribed, including 40 people in one day. I've never had that before, so I must be doing something right. Anyway, you'll get used to me rambling on and going off on a stray. Adam, hello sir, good evening, lovely to meet you on the day. It was nice to meet you finally. Sorry I'm late, just having tea. Well, I'm having a cup of tea, so I'll join you there. I enjoyed the Festival of the Unexceptional, it was great, but I had to agree it was so massive that it could run over 2 or 3 days. I actually think it's not possible because of the nature of the show, but I do think it's quite big. It's quite big. I can understand why they've limited it as such. Just before I get to the next few comments, because I can see it slow down a bit. Festival of the Unexceptional. The car that won it was a Daihatsu. I can't remember what the exact model was. Okay, fair enough. It's unexceptional. But it shouldn't have won it. None of those cars in that concourse section should have won it. Because I think, some of the cars in that castle were exceptional. That Princess was too exceptional. There was a few other cars that I thought they're too good. Mark III Fiesta, that was a beautiful 1.1 quartz classic. And there's a few others. There was a Mark II Fiesta. I think they're more than exceptional. I really do. I think there's an argument to be said for that. But none of those cars should win the competition. Because I was listening to Danny Hopkins, who was announcing the winner, because I was actually in the castle videoing while he was actually standing up and talking to people about what they would assess as an unexceptional car. like it's a car that you take to your mum and dad and say, look what I bought. And they'll be like, you've bought that pile of... So it's that sort of reaction. But I argue now, every single one of them cars have either been restored to an inch of their life, or they've been so well cared for that they have just survived in their original condition. And I'm going to argue one thing: I don't think any of them should win it, because they've all been looked after. Clearly, somebody loves them. And because somebody out there has loved that car, I think that is... I think that's how should I put it? That is reason to not give the award to any of them. The award should be given to a car that's visiting down there. The award should go to a car that's come in, that nobody would bat an eyelid on. Nobody bat an eyelid on. It's coming in a battered condition. No one wants to look at it because it's not interesting. Nobody knows really what they are, apart from maybe a few odd clips on YouTube or on Wikipedia. And even the owner probably doesn't feel great about it, but they feel great and feel good enough about it to own it and to try and keep it on the road. And that's where I think the winner should be. That's the winner. And I saw one car that I thought, do you know what? This should have won. And it was I can't remember the name. It was a Polonaise pickup truck. It was down there and it was, oh, it's horrible. No. It was an FS something Polonaise. I keep getting the name wrong, but it was a pickup, and it was dreadful. It looked awful, but somebody had travelled the continent to come to the show in that thing, and I think that is even more unexceptional because it's so unexceptional. You can't get the parts to restore it, and probably the owner probably wouldn't want to restore it because it's just not worth it. That's unexceptional. So I argue they can do away with this concourse. I think every single one of them are too good. Anyway, that's my opinion over. FSO Polonaise, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I got that wrong. So just an idea. I think they've got it wrong. I think there should be a concourse because naturally I think it's nice to have a concourse. But the winner should not be in that castle grounds. It should be out there with everybody else. And I don't know why we had some supercars turn up. It was weird at the front. You had the live stage with some YouTubers went up there, etc. You had a random selection of cars. And then on the left-hand side, there was some supercars. And I felt, why were they there? I do think that there needs to be a little bit more strictness when it comes to admission. I do think that tickets should not be able to be bought by anybody. And I think there needs to be a bit more of a stricter criteria as to what is unexceptional. It can divide opinion. I think that's why no show wants to say, no, you're not coming in. But as long as you're willing to pay for a ticket, you should be allowed in. But I argue there wasn't quite enough of the everyday classics. And we saw some quite exceptional cars that actually should be there. But it's a good show. And it's a testament to the show. And I'll be going again. God knows what car I'll be going in. Because I might not even take the Mark 1 next year. I may bring another car, maybe Beatrix or third car. Chris, he's like, no other YouTuber in a good was. What was that, Chris? Don't get you there. Are you referring to me or somebody else? Tip Top Motors, an Austin 1800. Right, okay, so it's the Woolsey version. Very rarely have I seen one of them, actually. I can't remember if I saw one at the festival in the Unexceptional. It might have bypassed me a little bit. But that's unexceptional. Because they're very rare now, and maybe rare and haven't been spotted. Or they're of an age where there's... I think there must be only a few of them left. Excuse me. The 1800, 2200, not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea, but good car. It did what it had to do. What was it? Sorry, I've lost the comments. Adam. As for the car I learned with the AA in the Mark 7 in UK or the Mark 6 everywhere else. I get panned for doing that. One car show I went to and I called a Mark 7 and Mark 6 Fiesta. And that's how they're referred to. I didn't realise that there was a jump in the UK. Because really the Mark 5 is a Mark 4 facelift. Just with the edge styling. But I got panned by somebody who told me I did a video where I went to the show and somebody put in the comments, give your head a wobble if you don't know about Ford. You call yourself a Ford enthusiast and you don't know about this. I'm like, oh, well done, banned, bye-bye. So every time somebody does that, they get banned. I've only had to ban 2 people. Yeah, crackers. People are very astute. That's a good car to learn in, that is. Yeah, that is a good car to learn in the Mark 7 Fiesta. I think the Mark 7 Fiesta is a future modern classic. I really do. I don't like Mark 6s. I think Mark 7s are far better. They should have jumped. I tell you what, if they'd have jumped from the Mark 5 to the Mark 7, the Mark 7 would have been the Mark 6, basically. Interesting. Maybe it would have looked too modern for 2002, arguably, but still. I think the Mark 6 Fiesta was the most disappointing Fiesta of the lot. It should have been better. I think there was a lot of pressure on Ford to get that right. You know, Mark 1 Focus, Mark 3 Mondeo, two great cars. And then there was a lot of pressure on that Fiesta. Still decent car underneath, fun, but just didn't quite get it right, did they, with the styling? Andrew, hi buddy, and to everyone. I learned to drive in a Mark 1 Punto 55 plate back in 1997. Sorry, 55, sorry. Wow. Mark 1 Punto is a good car. Saw a few of them at the Festival of the Unexceptional, usually rotten to death. Matt, Furious Driving, has got the oldest one apparently. That's looking typically scabby, but decent actually. Good car to learn to drive in, fun cars. I'd like to drive one actually. I think genuinely that's one Fiat I'd like to own, probably a few. I'd like to own a Fiat Uno and a Fiat Cinquecento. I just think they're just so fun. Fiat got it so right in the 90s, and Ford really must have struggled with the competition. I mean, I don't think much of the Polo Mark III, I don't think much of that. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I've got to tell my neighbour, because my neighbour's got a Mark II facelift. It's a 1992 coupe version C. I think the CL. He's got one in white. I saw one in the concourse. I said, "You've got to hang on to that." Got to tell him that because they're very rare. Mark 1 Ford Nut. Hello, sir. Welcome to the channel. New face indeed. I taught myself clutch control in a Mark 1 Fiesta. Then I got lessons in a Seat Ibiza 98. Oh, let me just Google that because I've got... Just before I answer that. That's a Golf Mark 3, isn't it? Or Mark... Is that a Golf Mark 3 or a Golf Mark 4 underneath? I can't remember which one it was. I might get that wrong. Clutch control in a Mark 1 Fiesta. You've done well. That's a nice car to learn to drive in. How many times are we going to hear Fiesta, Fiesta, Fiesta? How much of the population learnt to drive in one of those Fiestas? It literally should have just been called the ultimate driving instructor's car. It should have been marketed like that because they probably sold like hotcakes, even more than what they were. Seat Ibiza, they're very rare cars these days. Mark III Golf, brilliant, superb. Okay. I didn't see that last comment. Alex, I'll come to you on that last comment actually. I thought it was. By the look at the picture, it did look like a blobby Mark III. I say blobby in the nicest sense. To Keybasher, hello, welcome to the channel as well. Evening, the car that won should have had a wire coat hanger for an aerial. That's the thing. That is a good repair as well. How many people have done that back in the day? Use coat hangers for aerials. I agree, because That makes it more unexceptional than a concourse car. I just think it's the most unexceptional of exceptional condition cars. That doesn't make sense to me. I am going to send an email to the organisers about what I've just said there because I feel quite strongly about that. FSO Polish built. It is a Polish car indeed. Not very well built, but it's a Soviet Union car. Alex, hi Andrew. I learned on an 07 plate Yaris D4D. I'm gonna have to Google that. I'm gonna have to Google that. D4D being the engine. That's quite a small diesel engine, but it's good to learn in them. That would have been quite a nice car with some low grunty torque. Quite a nice way of learning to drive. I don't know much about those 07 plate Yaris. I've got a picture made of what I know what they look like. I know what they are. I think they were just a decent follow-up from the Mark 1. I've never really heard of a failure of them, to be honest, but they don't have really many common faults. They're just well built. 90 horsepower. Ish. That's good enough. That's good enough. You don't want any more than that when you're learning to drive. Adam, my Mark 7 Fiesta is one of the last good Fords. It is. Sorry, Mark 7 Fiesta is one of the last good Fords. Yeah, it is. I argue anything after is brilliant. I think that's why they kept it going for so long. The Mark 8 was disappointing. Really disappointing. But I suspect by that stage, Ford had already decided to go down this route with VW and has decided to get rid of every single one of their models. That's essentially makes them an everyday man's car, and they're going to screw. There are rumours that the Fiesta could be coming back as an electric car, but I think there are only rumours going around Ford circles at this moment in time. Sorry, my back is absolutely screwing at the moment. I just did a few videos working on the car, and sorry, I've screwed my back up big style, so I'm just trying to get comfortable on this. Mark 7 Fiesta essentially made the Fiesta popular again in Portugal. I think, I tell you what, I think the last popular Fiesta in Portugal was the Mark 3 Fiesta. I see so many that survive over there. And the Mark 3 Owners Club, blooming heck, they're all everywhere. Mark 1 Ford, same as the Mark 3 Golf. Alex, the Mark 3 Polo managed to be inferior to the Spanish brother, the 6K Seat Ibiza. Polo couldn't even fit the 1.9 TDI, which the Ibiza could. I see. The 98 Ibiza is a Mark III Polo derived. Okay, got you. They did a lot of badge engineering. Seat cars, unfortunately, it sounds like Seat are going to go the way of the wind. That brand is going to be ditched as well by the VW group, as we know. Is very sad times, because I think Seats have always been quite different, despite sharing the same architecture as VW cars. Shame. The Mark IV Golf based one was the Mark 1 Leon. Right, I've got that right now. Got you. And they're good cars, Mark 1 Leons. Yeah, that would make sense, actually, that the Leon is a Mark IV Golf. I can actually see the resemblance in my head. They're okay. Mark IV Golfs are okay. They're not brilliant. They're not as good as Mark 1s. The interior quality is amazing. What I wonder, I'll say at Mark 1 Leons like on the inside, did the quality go, well, because it's different in a different interior, would it necessarily be any better or any worse? The Volkswagen Group wants to ditch Seat for the Cupra brand. Oh no. Really? Aztec, hello everybody. Glad to see you streaming again. I am indeed. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very, very much. And nice emoji. Welcome to the live stream again. I would ask, what your first car is, buddy, but I know that you aren't old enough to start your driving lessons, but fair play. I'd recommend that you start learning to drive in a car that is going to be reasonably good because it will set you on the nail straight. Um, that's my advice. Because getting, I blame the fact that people choose. I know non-car people, non-car enthusiasts. I blame the fact that they choose really poor cars or really poor choices because the first car they started out with, and they seem to think that the car they learn to drive in is actually a pretty good car, and it might not be. And then they start buying cars that are just not very good. Um, Mark One, Alex, Mark One then shares the dashboard with the Audi A3, pretty decent. Also, they've managed to shove an Audi A3 dashboard, so I presume that the width of the car is exactly the same. That's very interesting. Not many times that's been done before. I know Rover did that with the R8. They designed a soft dashboard for the late R8 models, and because the Rover R3 200 was the exact same car, just shortened, they fitted that exact same dashboard in the R3s. But very rarely is that done. Yeah, most likely a manual. Good. Please learn to drive in a manual. I mean, you can drive in an automatic. It's no big deal, but it just limits yourself a little bit. I'd always say drive a manual when you can. If you're not interested in cars, automatic. If you're interested in cars, drive a manual, because then you can choose to drive an automatic, but have the choice to drive a manual. Adam, every car. I was actually originally going to go for an automatic license, and then I was kind of convinced not to. Good decision I made there. But then, what was the point? All my cars are automatic. The only manual cars I tend to drive generally are just occasionally other people's cars, an ST170, a few other cars in between, but really, I don't know why I bothered. Every car maker wants to go more premium for the money and sod the everyday people who want affordable cars. Well, that is exactly hit the nail on the head, Adam. There's no manufacturer that wants to make cars and almost no profit. I don't. It's like the story of the original Mini. Great car, amazing car, a people's car. Never made any money though. But that's not the idea of the Mini. The Mini was an entry level into the Austin Rover sort of range, the BL range. And the idea is that you bought a Mini, enjoyed it so much, you might want to upgrade. But the problem is with Minis, they were so fun, I don't think people wanted to upgrade. So that was a problem that was. People just kept on wanting to buy Minis. That made the company no money. Bit of a flaw there. But high profit margins with these SUVs is desirable. And I'm afraid it's just the way the world is now. Car manufacturers can't be asked. I think this is going to seriously backfire on car manufacturers because the everyday man is what keeps these car companies going. The people with money, if you've got a little bit of money enough to buy one of these SUVs, they're not going to keep the company going. I can't see that being the case. Ford are severely, for this to happen, car manufacturers and Ford in particular, they've got to limit their manufacturing. They will have to close manufacturing centres, design centres, engine building centres. They are going to literally have to shrink the company in order to make themselves profitable. That's what's going to happen. Keep focused. Hey, Jason. Hello, buddy. I learned in a C or possibly D reg Mark 1 Nissan Micra. Saw a few of them at the show. I'm sure you saw a few. I saw one with the checked seats on a D reg. Absolutely beautiful. And you know what? That probably stood you in good stead, Jason. That is a cracking car to learn to drive in. Fun. Micras of that age are like gold dust these days. I'd certainly look at buying one because they certainly don't feel too Japanesey. They actually feel quite European. They look it as well. I'd certainly have chosen one maybe over a Fiesta. It would have been better. I think better than a Mark II Fiesta. That's a good car to start with. Luke, hello, buddy. PCP, no one buys a car anymore. No, not really. I don't know why really manufacturers actually bother, or dealers, I should say, bother advertising the actual retail price of cars now, because it's not as if anybody's going to buy one. The last time I checked, it was difficult to get a Ford Fiesta for 20 grand. That's a lot of money for one. That's a lot of money, but to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to get caught in PCP, because once you start getting caught in it, you can't get out. You know, you're essentially, wanting to get out of owning cars into PCP. You're losing. You're just losing money all the time. Aztec, I'm sure they were losing out on each model. Yes, they would have been. I don't think the Fiesta was great for Ford either. I don't think they made any money on that car. Towards the 2000s, if I'm correct. Yep, that's correct. The Mini survived to 2000. I am going to shut the curtains and turn the light on because in my face. Oh, hold on a second. Right, okay, we seem to have a bit of buffering going on. I don't know why the signal is so poor. Alex, to fit a trip computer in a Mark 1 Leon, you shove a Mark 4 instrument cluster, electronically compatible, in an A3 frame, physically compatible. It will line up perfectly and work perfectly. Oh my goodness me, what a mishmash. I bet that's been done a few times. That's really interesting to know. So it is quite that sounds like the ultimate jigsaw puzzle when it comes to car interiors. I'll remember that one. That's a good one, that is. They closed Dagenham, sadly. Unfortunately, they have. They've closed quite a few. They closed Bridgend. They've closed many places Ford, and I just hope they don't keep doing that. Hopefully, Halewood stays away from their troubleshooting finger. I believe that's where they're making electric drivetrains in the future, the electric platforms, I should say. All the Fiestas were made there, correct? That's why. The Fiesta is the ultimate sort of Essex car. Well, it would have been up to a certain point, because I think certain Fiestas were made in Valencia towards the end. There is a bit of a clash. I can't remember which Fiestas were made in Valencia. No, they only made certain Fiestas at Dagenham, if I'm right in correcting myself there. But Valencia would have been where most Fiestas would have been manufactured for Europe anyway. Does look good. Tip Top Motors, that Micra did look good. Yeah, it's a nice car with those just checked deck chair style seats, brown, very old school, very old person sort of car, but unexceptional. Yeah, an exceptional example of not an unexceptional car, just a good car. Did everything that you needed to. Again, I don't think Nissan made much money on the Micras, but it was a good advert for the rest of their cars. Certainly you'd want to look at Nissan Bluebirds. I saw a few Bluebirds at the show as well. I would never had a new car anyway. No would I. Always buy 10-year-old or 15-year-old cars. That tends to be the point where I buy cars 10 years, no younger. Tip Top Motors, PCP comes with a lot of issues and you never own it. No, not really. It's not as simple as put fuel in, and even some places even pay for your insurance, but it's under a certain criteria, and then you add fuel. It's not as simple as that. Oh, I'm going to do a shout out. Paul Ridley, thank you so much for that, and this keyring, by the way. I honestly, you said you were going to send me a surprise. I didn't realise you were going to send that. The keyring's going straight on my fob. And that's a really nice mug, personalised mug. I have looked into key rings for the Mark 1 preservation group. I have actually had a few made. At the moment, I'm only making them in small numbers, but that, if you can see that, that is a new tried and tested key ring. I'm trying a few different ones, but to be honest, I'm not going to sort of sell them in vast quantity because they're going to be expensive. You're probably going to have to give me £5 for one of them, and don't think many people give me that. Anyway, Aztec, Luke, got to agree. Most new cars are kind of boring. Not a fan of EVs. I don't think. Who is a fan of EVs on here? Because I'm very open about EVs. I think the instant acceleration you get off the foot pedal, I should say. It's just a piece of metal. It's just to put your foot on. It's quite attractive. Anyway, most car building is done overseas now. It is because we're very expensive, buddy. They're very expensive in the labour. I'm very surprised that we still have some manufacturing over here, but I don't think it'll be long. Jason, biggest problem with the Mark 1 Micro is the indicators and window wiper stalks were on the opposite side to each other than on other cars. It was very confusing after I passed my test, got my own car. Okay. That's like a lot of cars from that time though, because the indicators were on the right hand side and the wash wipe was on the left. Well, my P6 was being a 60s, 70s car, it was completely opposite. Indicators on the right, and the left-hand stalk was for your dip beam and your horn, and the wiper was on the center console. It was just a knob that you twisted on the center console. It was a bit confusing when I used to jump from P6 to Ford Focus Mark 1 when I had them both working, and I just it was literally like pick and choose. What do I take to work today? What do I drive to the shops today? And sometimes it would be a bit confusing between the two, certainly. Getting the focus, and you start not indicating but using the wash wipe. Mark 1 Ford nut. Fiestas were mostly Spain and Germany back in the day. Yeah, I thought that was the case actually. Alex, I still have my first car, the Audi 80 TDI, awaiting a restoration. There was a few of them at the show, more Audis than I'd ever seen, particularly 80s. That certainly caught my eye. Tip Top Motors, Valencia sounds more exotic than Dagenham. Very, very. It's a Spanish car. Fiesta means party in Spanish, and it should be made. It should be made. It's a very much, I see it as a British car. The Fiesta is as British a car as you will get. But it was made in Spain. It has a Spanish name. Interesting. Aztec, wish I could imagine how good the Focus was when it came back. How do you mean? How do you mean by that? I'm a bit confused. Although the plate is crazy, it's 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. What did you mean by the how good the Focus was when it came back? So my brain is a bit scrambled today, so forgive me for that. Alex, I don't mind EVs, but I hate Teslas. Worst build quality I've seen in ages. Well, I wouldn't own a Tesla because you might as well just... It's like it's literally, it's not your car. Even though it's your car in name as well, but it's not your car. Because Tesla can control your car, believe it or not. They can actually disarm your car. They can track your car. It's a joke. I don't trust manufacturers now. You know that ECUs in cars pre-2015, I would say, pretty much don't give out that sort of information about tracking. Don't buy a Chinese car. Those people who are driving in MG3s, the Chinese are tracking what you're doing. Trust me, all this information is getting relayed back. Whether it's Tesla, the Chinese, whatever, don't buy their crap. Although I would say most things are made in China. You don't know if your TV that's made in China is relaying information back to China. It's very, very worrying, that actually. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I will say that now, but I do think it's gone way too far now. Big Brother's no. And I hate the trend of turning classic nameplates into bloated EV SUVs. I don't know why. Puma, Cougar, well, Cougar spelled differently. Now they're doing it with a Capri. It's a joke. It's not a joke. None of them should wear these badges. They're not worthy of these badges and nameplates. It's just, dragging the name through the muck. I will say one thing though. When I did a recent video, you may not have watched it, about me basically moaning about the future of Ford, and you need to go and watch that video. It was basically where Ford are going. And I quite like that video because I did a lot of research before I actually did the video just to get my facts straight. And the one quote that I had from the CEO was that they were moving on into a more premium direction and that they are making cars that Ford owners can be proud to own, and that they are ditching their heritage but moving on in a much more modern context. Around about those lines, that was the quote. So if this is all about moving on into the future, why are you using names from the past? Can't you come up with some new ones? It's very selective, isn't it? Basically, they're moving on into the future, but only using things and bits and pieces that when it suits them. If you do not mind me asking, if you could get your Focus brand new today, what options would you have got? Or not, due to reliability issues, or would you keep it as it is? That's a very good question. That's a very good question, Aztec. I would still go for Mark 1 Focus 3-door Zetec. Probably a manual, but I wouldn't mind the automatic because they're decent gearboxes. But I would just make sure it's got air conditioning. Mine does not have air conditioning. It's a very weird model. Very few Mark 1s with a 1.6 have no air conditioning. I've only ever seen one manual with no aircon, and I've never ever seen an automatic without aircon. So mine is weird, very weird spec indeed. In fact, I was puzzled over to get a stretch belt. In fact, they actually are quite obtainable. So I pretty much say I'm close to the car that I want to own. But arguably, I'd want probably a 99 model or 2000 model pre-facelift. Only that, because there was just a little bit better build quality. Sorry, I meant when it came out. Yeah. So I'm going to have to look at your previous. It was, so I think you need to, the thing is, I was 5 years old when the Mark 1 came out. And I think to understand how good it was when it came out, you need to, there are lots of people on here. Jason, what was the Mark, do you have memories of when the Mark 1 came out? When was the first time you saw one? Just anybody. When was the first time you saw Mark 1? What did you think of the new car to replace the Escort? Did you think that's not going to catch on, it looks too modern? Or did it just tick every box? I like to know people's opinions because I was 5 years old and my neighbour bought one. My parents' neighbour bought one, and I remember it looking very different to any other car on the street, and it caught my eye. But apart from that, I can't really remember too much. As I say, I was 5 years old. But it looked different. It was different in a good way. Got people talking. Looked like, if you had one in a moondust silver colour, it looks like a space shuttle compared to an Escort. Mark 1 Ford, the Micra is Japanese, so it's right-hand drive, so the indicator should be in the right-hand side. So if your left hand is on the gear stick, other cars Focus is a left-hand drive market car. That's quite interesting that you say that, because most cars generally have their indicators on the left. But that is a good thought actually, because ideally that is, I mean, to be fair, my P6 was an automatic, so I didn't really think about it in that way. But having the indicator on the right and then gear on the left, no, that's ideal. That is. Makes me think of my mate's old Porsche 944. So I talk about keeping hands on the steering wheel. The handbrake on a Porsche 944 is on the right hand side, like a lot of old cars. And literally, going for a maneuver, he would literally moving off, clutch, first gear, handbrake off, no hands on the steering wheel. When you move off, there's a couple of seconds where your hands aren't touching the steering wheel because you've got one on the gear lever and one on the handbrake moving off, particularly on a hill start. I can understand why that never caught on. Or whether the handbrake on the right hand side was got rid of, basically. As in looks wise, yeah, as I say, it looked different, very different. Luke, Big Brother today, it's always his Big Brother today. Right now, my live stream is no doubt being broadcasted in China for someone to analyse me, because that's how serious the Chinese watch everybody. And I do say that it's very worrying, the sort of power that they have. And all this, all this emissions bollocks with the ULEZ, clean air zones, what a load of crap. It doesn't matter what we do in this country. Net zero, 2050 and all that crap. It doesn't matter what we do over here, as long as the Chinese continue to do what they're doing over there. If we are serious about climate change in this world, the Chinese have got to stop. But I suspect that, the Chinese, they view it as this is their industrial revolution. We had our industrial revolution 200 years ago. Now it's their turn. They're hardly going to stop doing what they're doing. But until they do, which won't happen, what we do in this country is utterly useless. It is a tick box exercise. It's a joke. But net zero, for me, is being used now, not as a name. It's being used as a political football now by both the political parties, all the political parties in the UK and in Europe. As we need to appeal to the voters, because we need to be seen to be green. I think if there was a party that actually got rid of all this crap, I think they'd get in straight away with the amount of people that have to deal with clean air zones, low traffic neighbourhoods. It's all bloody bollocks. The Tesla is the fastest sedan in the world. It is. 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. It's absolutely mind-boggling. That statistic is just mind-boggling. Combustion cars, you'd be lucky to get 3 seconds at best. My TV's too old. Well, do you know what? I think I need to downgrade mine, because mine's a smart TV. I get worried about it sometimes. Daniel Taylor, I learned to drive. Hello, sir. Good evening. I learned to drive in a 1999 Mark IV Fiesta 1.25 Sigma, good engine, in Thistle Purple. Very fun car, could drive it flat out and legal. However, I passed my test in a new Honda CR-V. Trying to picture that car now. That's a bit of a different car. Good job you started early. That's a nice car. Another Fiesta that kick-started a good habit. Excuse me, I'm just going to drink this. I can't stop slurping my tea. Alex, if I could buy... I'm sorry, I'm just jiggling. My back's really hurting me now. If I could buy a brand new Mark 1 Focus non-ST, I'd go for a TDCi with the 7-spoke MP3 17-inch wheels, the automatic air conditioning. That's a good one, actually. Good shout. And the Blancpain Travel Pilot. Ooh, fancy. That's quite rare. That is very rare. And I have thought about trying to look for one, and they do come up for £130. I believe some of them have got the dot matrix style sat nav navigation. It's that time, it's that period. I think that would have been so cool back in the day. But the automatic air conditioning control is a good shout. The MP3 wheels are a good shout as well. I'll just go for an MP3, to be fair. Daniel, Tesla, it's like a massive conspiracy. We've all been told for years to save the planet, turn your electrics off, but now we have to drive electric cars. How hilarious is that? I actually saw a picture the other day, and it was a woman, with like a "I'm saving the planet" flag, and right next to it is her electric car being plugged in to a power point, and there's a cable that goes all the way to a fossil fuel power station. That's just so green, isn't it? It really is green. It's just fraud. It's utterly fraud. I swear to God, Rishi Sunak, he has got shares. He has definitely got shares in something to do with electric cars. 100%. They all have. They've all got shares. That's why they want you to buy electric cars. They're all promoting it because they've got shares in it. Honest to God. Alex, 3 Door 2 in black. Not Panther Black. The Curse of Panther Black. That's a video coming out in a few days' time. And Panther Black's just a brilliant colour, but it's also a curse, believe you me. I wouldn't have one in Panther Black. I'd have one in Aquafrost. Sorry, I've lost all sense of where we are now. There's a lot of comments. Blooming heck. The comments are all coming in now. Right. Yes, I was pissed off that Ford CEO statement about over being proud to own. They basically said all old Fords are crap. I know. They've basically stabbed a knife in everybody who has ever worked for Ford, who has ever designed a Ford, who has ever been in any position in Ford. They've basically done that in the backside. And for me, that is the end of the Ford Motor Company as we know it. And the the company that are calling themselves Ford now, they're not Ford. They are Ford in name only. And people know this. People aren't stupid. Mark 1 Ford notes. My 99 Zetec has factory air conditioning winter pack heated screen mirrors. That's a good pack, that is. That is a very, very good pack. Heated mirrors is also something really nice, which I tell you what, no car I've ever owned has had heated mirrors. That is a nice little gift, that is. Heated screen is always a luxury on them. They work so well. And these days, actually, heated screens are quite obtainable. The aftermarket ones are quite good, actually. Daniel, gotta love a facelift though. Facelifts are good. They're very neat and tidy. Aztec, I know I asked this before, but what is your dream car? You asked me that, and I'm going to give you the same answer as I gave you in the comment. When I passed my driving test, I didn't really necessarily have a dream car, not one vision. But I had an idea of what I wanted to own. I wanted a Mini. I wanted to own a Mini. Would that have been classed as a dream car? I don't know. I really can't say that I've ever had really a dream car, other than the fact that I think I've realised that I've got my dream car, and it's my Focus Mark 1, because it's the car that I cannot compare to with anything else. So I think that's... I just don't have a dream car, because I have everything that I want with that car. Dream car or wish list, two different things. Dream cars are always something you've wanted to own since you were a kid. And I never once could pinpoint one particular car. But now I really have my dream car. There are cars on my wish list, but I can't really say much more than that. I like the Series 1 RS Turbo. Which one is that? Which car is that? Series 1. We're talking about Escorts here. Fiestas? Because they all had there was always an RS Turbo for them. Or let me know which one it is. Daniel, I loved it. It must have been about the 2002 mark. And I thought it was a brilliant looking car. 2001. October 2001 was where it crossed over. I argue now with Mark 1s, the facelift should have been what it looked like from the start. I think the indicators in the front bumper didn't look quite integral, whereas the front of the facelift looks very in keeping with the rest of the design. I think this is one of the few occasions where the facelift is better than the original. I really do say that, and I'm not biased because I own a facelift. I genuinely think it's better looking, but they've got their own charm. The original ones, they've got their own charm. I love how it looks. Same here. Dave, I can remember the TV advert for the Mark 1 when they first came out, and it was always on the telly. Which one was that? Is it on YouTube? There's a few. There's a few. Where is? There's one with. I tell you what. There's an advert. I was just telling somebody about. It wasn't a Mark 1 advert. It was a 2002 advert for the new Mark 6 Fiesta. Not not brilliant car, but the advertising was top notch, and it was all about fun. They promoted the car, get out, have fun, and it was an advert where a bloke went to work and basically put a lipstick all over his face and said, "Goodness me, boss, I feel ill." And he said, "I know, you need to go to the doctors." And he left with his secretary, jumped in the Fiesta, and they blagged a day off work on the sick. What a fucking amazing advert. That's really good marketing. Who remembers the Tom and Jerry advert for Mark III Mondeos? Tom and Jerry, 2003, Mondeo Mark III. Another good advert. Funny. Just fun. Mark 1 adverts were not entirely about fun. I think because the millions they put into redesigning that car to get it how it was, they really did. They sort of stamped in that new design, fresh look, Ford Edge design, all new, class-leading rear suspension, class-leading ride, etc. They just boasted about the class-leading nature of the car, and they got it right because it was. They never advertised it as a fun car. But they always, in the adverts, it was always driven like it was a fun car, but they never hinted at it. It's quite clever marketing. Tip Top Motors, I've always liked the look of the Focus. I'm afraid Tip Top Motors, it is the draw of my channel. That's where I've started. It's my first car, that Ford Focus Mark 1, if you look at some of my other videos. And I've still got it to this day, and it's the basis of my YouTube channel, and I'm very proud of that car and what it's given me. And now it was a daily, now it's a bona fide modern classic, and it's very well looked after. So the conversation always goes to that. It's my number one passion. But I do have a soft spot for Rovers. I'm not into a lot. I tell you what, there's a lot of Fords I don't rate. I think there's a lot of Fords, specifically in the 80s, 90s, that are very overrated compared with a lot of other cars, Austins and Rovers and quite a few other manufacturers. So I'm not rose tinted about Fords, but they have made some astonishingly good cars, and the Mark 1 is one of the best. Aztec looks really cool. It does. No, it does. It does. They all do. I definitely. I don't think there's a car that smacks of coolness. And it's me again. So here is first car to drive. A Lada 1300 Mark 1. Okay, that's definitely a Soviet car. My father's first car. Then a Wartburg 1.3 Golf engine. Funny crap. A Wartburg, basically. I've pronounced it wrong on camera. There you go. I can't edit that out. Sorry, I saw the letters. It's Wartburg. And a Renault Megane Classic 1.4. Good car. Nice car. And funnily, my Focus 1.8 Zetec. Nice. That's a good CV there. There's definitely some rubbish cars, and there's some average ones, and there's a good one. But the best thing is, it sounds like your car CV has got gradually more and more better as the years have gone on there. That's good. That I like that. Aztec, has anyone ever driven a car with a choke? Funny thing that it's a good skill to have, how to learn how to drive a car with a choke, with a carburettor. I've driven one car with a choke, and I might be driving a car with another choke soon. Um, they're all different. Some cars refuse. Some cars will literally start on nothing, no choke, and some cars need the choke pulling out for ages before you have to push it back in before it can actually idle without cutting out. Um, Daniel, do we all drive Mark 1 because we can't afford the RS? No, no, not at all. I don't think the RS Mark 1 Focus. Do you know the Mark 1 RS is not actually anything to do with the WRC rally car? It's actually a Tickford car. It was a car designed by Tickford using a lot of Ford parts, the Ford Focus Mark 1 infrastructure, but they designed the underside, they designed a lot of things on that car. Ford didn't want to know. They said that they were not going to do an RS because we just don't think that it's worth it bringing back the RS badge again, because the RS name had died because of insurance costs. This wasn't, by the way, the Ford Focus RS Mark 1 was not an homologation car. It wasn't because they had to build 2,000 in order to fulfill a need to rally the WRC car itself in the World Rally Championships. This was done purely as a marketing exercise by Tickford. They designed the car and then they went to Ford, look what we've done. We've designed this. We've taken years to design this. And Ford agreed that it was a good car and they marketed it. And that's how the RS came into being. So, interesting. But it actually, as far as Mark 1s go, the RS isn't as pure Mark 1 as you might think. Certainly, they're not, I don't think they're brilliant to drive. I think they're a little bit, the diffs don't tend to be that good on them. There tends to be a lot of torque steer. But I've never driven an RS, so I can't, maybe I'm not qualified to say that, and I'm sure I might be corrected. No, that's wrong. We drive a Mark 1 because we like Mark 1s, and they're the cooking models. They're the ones that people drive. Our Mark 1 RS bits are a joke. In what way? They're hard to get hold of. They're very unique, those body panels, I'll tell you. 2 Key Basher, manual choke was far better than the early Ford Auto chokes. Blimey, they're bad, aren't they? On the Escorts, I believe it would have fitted to a lot of Escorts at the time. Sierras as well. They've all been converted to manual chokes. They're pretty bad. I've never heard of a car with an auto choke that actually works properly. What it is, there's a little bimetallic strip that sits in the path of the exhaust. And that bimetallic strip obviously heats up, it shrinks, and it performs a contact. And when it performs that contact, the mixture is richer. Well, it's richer and then it gets leaner when the bimetallic strip warms up. The problem is they never quite work. Luke Smith, net zero, get rid of all our rights. You got that right. What was it? The Great Reset, is it 2030? You own nothing and be happy. It's going that way. It really is going that way. It's a joke. Daniel, country went to the dogs when we allowed foreigners to run it. Well, the thing is, that's open to debate, that is, but I'm not going to argue about that, to be honest. I'm not going to argue. There's a lot of complexity on why. That the country's gone to the dogs because the ones up there look after themselves. I have no idea who I'm voting for in the elections next year, but it's not going to be Keir Starmer. As much as I don't want to vote Conservative, I'm not voting for anybody like that. Keir Starmer, it might as well just have Conservative written over his face. It's 2000. You must have that wrong, Aztec. It can't be that powerful. They can't be that powerful. 1020 brake horsepower. Nah, you got that wrong. You've done a typo again. And Aztec lads had a choke back Lada had a choke back in the old days. Funny machine. It's a good skill to have, a choke. Was it hard to get the hang of? Nope, nope. You need to understand your car and the way it works. The first few times you use a choke on a car, you'll probably stall it, but you'll know exactly how long to keep it out and then when to push it back in. It's all about understanding, and you'll probably stall it the first few times, and then you'll think, right, I need to keep it out for longer. But make sure you push it. You have to push it back in good time, otherwise you'll be flooding that carb. You can do that easily. Daniel, one thing I love about Ford drivers, we're all on the same wavelength mentally. Mentally. Yeah, I'd say so. But I'd say the same for a lot of mates, to be fair. I know this is a Rover Ford channel, but is anyone a fan of BMWs? Sorry, I thought there was somebody behind me with a BMW badge on. No. Don't get me wrong. I liked a lot of BMWs that came to the festival. They're exceptional. Some of them I've never seen before, and I can understand the appeal. But versus British cars and Ford, well, to be fair, BMWs were better at Ford back in the 70s, 80s. But I would argue there were better cars that were far more obtainable. I've got to be honest with you, BMWs, they were fine when they were brand new, but after a few years, they started getting electrical problems, and then you have mechanical issues. They were plagued with a lot of problems, and they are drivers' cars. BMW did make really fantastic drivers' cars, and I saw some of them at the show, and it did catch my eye. But any BMW beyond around 2003, 2002, no chance. The last great BMW that I think was the 5 Series E39, and I would love one of them. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up with this. Oh my God. Jesus Christ, this is getting busy. This is my busiest live stream. Right, let's keep going with this. I remember seeing. So I think we lost the connection then. I remember seeing Jason. Sorry, I remember seeing one Mark One in a dealership in Harrogate in '98. I wasn't really that impressed, to be fair. It wasn't until a few years later that I really noticed them. That's interesting. What was it that didn't impress you? I'm going to sort of I'm going to make you think a bit there about that one. Yeah, what was it that you wasn't impressed by? No matter how small. Alex, I found some travel pilots with LCD issues for like 30 quid in Poland or Lithuania. That's a good spot. Usually it is the LCD. I'm pretty sure if you've got missing digits off the LCD, I'm sure you can get them back. I can't remember how you do that, but there's a way of repairing them. Just need to know about electronics. Luke, I would buy the 1.8 TDCi Gear Estate in dark blue. Fair enough. You're so right about the EV and fossil fuel power station. It's true. It's so ironic. I just, why do people not see? Are people that blind that they don't see this? I think people do, but there's a lot that don't. I just think it's sort of bloody crap. Tell you what though, if you want to own an EV, if you want to own a combustion car that actually drives like an EV, go and drive any car with a CVT transmission, and then you'll feel exactly the kind of driving experience you might have with an EV. It's just with a combustion engine, it isn't exactly 100% horsepower immediately. It does take a bit, but it's not far off, I can tell you. So if you want the EV ownership, buy a CVT gearboxed vehicle. If I was buying new, it would be an X-Reg. Yeah, 2000. That tends to be the sweet spot for Mark 1s. I don't know why, but they do tend to be very well built around 2000. I see more pre-facelift ones that survive from that year than any other year. I love facelift Mark 1s because of the headlights alone. They suit the shape so well. I find the 99 Model 1s a bit too simple. That's interesting. With the indicators integral into the headlights, that they look more joined up. Looks joined up. Daniel, I wanted a Mini, but the wife thinks they're girly. The new ones are, the old ones are unisex. It was the Escort. Oh, grief. Okay. They only made them in white. Expect one for Diane. Jesus. Jason, even though I have both facelift and pre-facelift, I still prefer the look of the pre-facelift. Why? What makes you prefer the look, Jason? That's interesting. I'm probing you a lot, Jason. They only made... sorry. Daniel, going away from Ford, my dream car would be the S15. We're going away from the topic of this show, but I think we've done our first cars. I think everyone that's actually spoken has said their first car. But if you're new, tell us the car you learnt to drive in and pass your driving test. If you're new, if you're old to this stream, we're going off at a tangent, but I'll try and keep back on it. Welcome to my live streams. We start with one topic, and then we go off and we end up talking about millions of things, somewhat related to Mark 1 Focus, then sometimes not. Going away from Ford, my dream car would be an S15 Silvia Rocket Bunny with an RB26. I have no idea what you have just said then. Why does that car make me think of a Nissan Skyline? I've just seen a picture of it. Pretty good. I can see why. Jason, dream car, Mark-1 Granada Coupe. Oh my God, saw one at Gaydon. Oh my, no, it wasn't Gaydon. It was another show actually. My God. I think the Granada, Mark-1 Granada, was when Ford were at their peak at that time. Their cars were just outstanding. I think if there's a Ford that I'd aspire, if there was a car that I would aspire to own that I really know I couldn't afford in my wildest dreams unless I had a big windfall, Jaguar XJ Series 2 Coupe with the pillarless coupe with the windows the back windows that go down into the quarter panels. Yeah, XJ. It's an XJC. That's what it's called. Either engine, 6 or 12 cylinders, whichever one. That has actually triggered a thought. It is a wish list car, and it's the number one because they are just the most gorgeous saloon cars ever. I can't think of one that's more beautiful. Nick, when I pass my test, my dream car is a Mark 1 Ford Focus before the facelift. Interesting. You might not be far off that, Nick. You might not be far off that. Aztec, would you get a Mark 1 would you ever get a RS Mark 1? Well, first of all, I need about 15 grand. So I'll answer the first bit, can't afford one. Instead of the Focus, if it was cheaper. It's a bit of a hypothetical question. Or would you prefer the easier drive on the standard Mark 1? If somebody gave me, some rich fella said, look, here is a Mark 1 Focus like the one you've got, and here's an RS Mark 1. Choose one. You can have them for free, but you've got to choose one. You can't have both. I'd still choose the cooking model because I think the RS Mark 1 is a car that I think it's never meet your heroes. Well, it's not a hero of mine, but it's never meet a car that possibly you need to tick a box on. And I would certainly want one for ticking the box. But really, that's not a car that I'm going to want to own in the long term. I'd still pick an ordinary one. I really would. Frank, hello Frank. Me in Skoda 105. Oh, I've got to lock that up now. Skoda 105. Oh, okay. Okay. This was back in the day of really early Skoda. But I bet they were hardy cars. And, oh, sorry, I've lost it again. A Wartburg 353 Estate. Which one was better? Which one was the better car out of the two? Because they are definitely cars that we could have had at the Festival of the Unexceptional. Completely unexceptional cars, but quite important cars, I think. People's cars. Definitely in Czechoslovakia. Tip Top Motors, Keep Focus, saw a diamond white Granada coupe on Sunday, had the brown vinyl roof. I think I saw that. Now, I think I might have passed that and not filmed it. Oh, gosh. That's a nice one, that. The black Escort sold for $730. You're joking. You're absolutely joking. I can't believe anybody paid that much for it. That's a lot of money, that is. Adam, facelift Mark 1 Focus looks better exterior design, but the pre-facelift Mark 1 has better seats, cup holders, and the general build quality, including, as we've discovered this on Saturday, the door catches make a much more high quality sound. Don't know how. Don't know how. Facelift exterior and pre-facelift interior would be perfect. It's possible as well. You could always swap them if you wanted the best of both. That'd be an interesting modification to design the ultimate Mark 1. That's a good shout, that is. It would be a lot for an Escort, Aztec, wow, a lot for any car. Are you going to Ford Fair? No, I've not planned to. I am up to my eyeballs in quite a few things. Namely, I don't think most of you were actually listening when I said right at the start, I'm actually taking about a week off from YouTubing. Friends, family, and I'm not connected to YouTube whatsoever. There'll still be videos coming out because I've been working hard to make videos the last 2 weeks to cover the week. So there's plenty of stuff coming out. I just it's stuff I've already done. It's not current. But I won't be is it the 16th? I can't remember which day it was now. Was it the 16th? I can't remember what day. Not this year, but I might be going next year. It's just something that I'm not sure it's quite me. I've never been to Ford Fair, and there's a good reason for that, Daniel. I just see too much modified stuff there, and I think it's a little bit out my comfort zone. I'm not sure it's something it's me, because I'm actually kind of anti heavy mods these days. Also, it's a lot of the newer stuff, a lot of the newer Fords. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think going there will be quite nice. Doing a video, people will watch the video. But I don't really want people to watch that video and see all these newish Mark III and Mark IV Focuses and all the other newer stuff and some of the old stuff, but mainly newer stuff and modified stuff, and get the impression that that's what my channel is about, because then they'll see my videos and think, I don't like this channel. I don't really like to give videos that give a false impression about me. If I went to Ford Fair, I'd be leaving my phone at home, so I didn't film at all. I would literally just enjoy the day for what it is. But no, there was so many things going on, it got put on a back burner, so that's the reason I'm not going. Because I've just got so much other stuff to be doing. So no. Alex, the TV advert that had me hooked was the one for the Mark II ST growing up. I'll have to watch that one. Not heard of that one. Main reason why an orange ST225 is a dream car for me, that and the 5-cylinder engine. That Volvo engine is brilliant. Honest to God, what a good engine that was. That's when Ford and Volvo, I mean, Ford owned Volvo, but the two companies really did do a lot of good joined up work. Those are the sort of collabs that I think have worked in the past. Mark 1 Ford Nut, I bought some Focus RS internals for an engine I'm building, get it most fairly cheap. That's interesting. Because I would rate most of RS stuff quite expensive. Excuse me, my eyes are quite tired. Daniel, I do want to respray mine, but it comes down to funds. The problem is with respraying, and I realised this with my own, my one desperately needed a respray. Respraying a car, no matter how good your body shop does it, even if it's back to bare metal, it's never going to be quite as good as factory. It never will be. So I always hold off to the last possible moment, and mine was desperate, just desperate. I would retain as much factory paint as you can try and get away with, and respray as little as possible. But it can't always come down to that. But it's difficult. $3,000 is what it will take to respray a Mark 1 Focus, especially. $3,000. It's a lot of money, that is. There are not many cars that I would justify spending a respray on, and you would need to think very carefully. Because if you respray a car, you are signing a contract saying you are not letting that car go. Because you know full well you're not getting a penny of that $3,000 back if you were to sell it on. Even in years to come, when Mark 1s are going to be worth a lot more, they definitely will be. I can't see you getting your money back. So, you know, the decision for me to respray my own is basically me saying, well, I'm not selling it. I'm never going to get rid of it. So why not respray it? Because I'm not going to lose anything. But if you wanted to respray it to sell it on, you are losing, which is why nobody resprays cars. Generally, and I see this a lot, you have to ask yourself the question, why cars go up for sale? It's because they've got problems. That's why people sell cars. I generally don't believe someone sells a car because of changing circumstances. It's because the car will cost them a lot of money in the future. So I often find that the best examples of any car, they're not the ones up for grabs. The ones up for grabs are the ones with problems. But if you can make one and take a good, decent one that's been up for sale and turn it into a really good car, you've got a keeper. And then it's yours for life, potentially. Look at this. Honestly, how many people have I met with Escorts and Capris from the 80s, 90s who've still got them to this day? Because they spent money on them when nobody thought they were worth it. And look now, their gamble paid off. I really honestly believe if you start now, 20 years' time, we'll be very, very happy people. Trying to find this now. Aztec, Daniel Taylor, would you get the Mark 1 RS or the Mark 2? It's a good question. Good question. It was the best. I'll tell you what, the RS, the Mark 2 RS, you're going to get it in 3 colours. I can't remember what. Performance blue, ultimate green, and a white. I can't remember what the white colour was. I like ultimate green. It stands out a blooming mile. Performance blue is very traditional Ford. It was the best handling car on the market for RS Mark 1 before. Yeah. Tadas, how are you? I'm not too bad. I'm getting through the day. How are you? More or less. I'm just busy, but I've got enough time to do a live stream and to catch up with people. That's the main thing. As in the pricing, it's true. Alex, I find the RS Mark 1 a bit overrated. Best RS is the Mark 2 with a glorious Volvo engine. That is a very good point, and I would definitely say that's a second vote from me. I think the Mark 2 was much better. Due to Aztec, due to only 4,500 being made. So how many were made? I didn't realise that. Daniel, a few of us emailed Ford when the Fiesta went out of production and asked for a final goodbye with an RS Fiesta. Would you believe we had zero response? They don't care of sugar, mate. They don't. I don't know why you bothered. I know it was a good idea, but why bother? They literally don't care about their own cars, the old cars. They only have eyes for their dreadful SUVs. They haven't got a clue. It's given people a bit of a headache at the moment because what are you going to drive? There's no product that I would buy from Ford now. The question I got asked, if you had a company car, if you were given the choice today of having a company car and your boss said just go out and pick one, what car would you have? I wouldn't have a Puma. I wouldn't have any Ford product as a company car. Well, I'd probably get a late Ford Focus before they go out of production. But ignore Ford Focus because that's going out of production. In the long run, then that's not going to be the case. I don't know what I'd buy. I mean, Volvo have just announced that all their cars are going to be SUVs from next year going forwards. So the estate's dead. Volvo, who we all associate with that big barge of an estate, is finally killing off estates and saloons and just doing stupid SUVs. That's another company that now has lost the plot. This SUV thing will finish. It's going to be such a fashion thing. It's untrue. You know, 1 minute it's popular and the next minute it's not. Honest to God. Inexpensive. Sorry, I'm a bit slow. Aztec, they were overpriced. I'm sure the gear knob sells about 80 quid. It wouldn't surprise me. Tadas, it is overpriced. Speaking good about good handling cars, the Cougar was really good, just sadly slow. I do like Cougars. That is definitely one car on my bucket list that I've got to own. It's the new edge styling as well. Designed mainly to be sold in America, but they sold it in Europe, and to be fair, they're very cheap cars. Chris, hello, welcome to the channel, sir. New face. I learned to drive in a 1.3 Metro City. Nice car, basic, simple. Another good driving instructor's car. When I passed, I bought a Mark II Fiesta. Oh, you bought the rival. That's interesting. So did the Metro City not sort of tick the box for you? Or is it just a Mark II Fiesta came up and it was cheap? Which one was it? It's quite interesting. The Metro people will not thank you for going to the dark side. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up. My God, the comments I can't keep up now. This is the first live stream I can't keep up. Aztec, the Tesla is the player is the sports model. The standard ones are about 300 to 600. Have a look if you get the chance on the BHP acceleration of the Tesla Model S. I'll have a look. The BMWs were much more expensive compared to Fords. Yes, they were. They always were. They always were. It helped though in 1975 when the UK became part of the EU, common market, and BMWs and all the other foreign cars, they got cheap. That was the only thing protecting British Leyland was the import taxes. And then when we joined the common market, literally the government's decision to join the EU killed the British motor industry stone dead. Stone dead. I don't think any other government would have made such a decision. Only the British government makes decisions that kills its own manufacturing. That's England for you. Tadas, I have one question. I've seen after I've seen your special Mark 1 video, TDDI engine, is that what you expected or worse, better? Better, far better. Because Adam was driving, it was his car, and I was a passenger in his car, and I couldn't believe how refined it was. Setting off, it sounded very much like a Ford Transit, but once you got into second and maybe third gear, you were near it. And the torque, freaking heck, It pulls at 60, 65 miles per hour at about 1100, 1200 RPM. My bloody automatic 1.6, it'd be bloody screaming its head off at 2,500 RPM. So no, much better, much more refined. I think the TDCi, again, slightly more refined and more powerful, but I don't think that was a necessary option. It's definitely changed my opinion over the TDDIs. Definitely, in a really good way. Aztec E39 M5 with V8 or the E46 M3, which could rev up to, I'd still go for the E39 M5. No question about that one. Daniel, how did your Mark 1 owners enjoy laughing at the glitter bomb I showed you? I can't think, Daniel. What are you referring to? Sorry, I'm a bit lost there. Yeah, what were you referring to there? I can't remember. Sorry, so many things have happened off the top of my head. Aztec. Oh, the X-Reg. Sorry if I sound dumb. Luke's preferred car was an X-Reg Aztec. I thought that was for kit cars. I cannot remember which car brand did it, but there is one EV that doesn't allow you to feel the feedback on the wheel. I don't know which one. I have no idea. As if I'm interested. That's the thing. Jason, I was still an 80s Ford enthusiast at the time. Very boxy. I was driving a Mark II Granada back then, and the Focus to me was the complete opposite of that. I'm going to say the polar opposite. I can understand that. That's the risk that Ford took with that car, because it was so indifferent to any Ford that had gone before. It could have been another Sierra job. It was that bad. Sierra didn't fare well. The Focus Mark 1 fared a lot better. Took a while for sales to pick up. I think it's because people just got in and drove them and thought, this is fantastic to drive. And I think that's what won people over. And the looks kind of followed on. People got used to those looks. A Mark II for Granada, boxy as anything. I can imagine that. So that's a good answer, that is. And I think that would have been the case in many circumstances to the traditional Ford audience. You could have argued the Mark 1 was so modern, people may have been a bit worried. Ford enthusiasts like yourself would have been a bit concerned. These bubble cars, like they've done it with the KA, and then doing it with the Fiesta, and now this Focus. They keep making blobby cars. Is this really the future? And I do think there would have been some concern about where Ford was going. I think once you drove one, you think, Ford have got this right. This is fun. Tell us, my first car after the pass was the silver Ford Cougar. Good choice. Just a good choice. Enchantress, old to the street. Sorry. I learnt in a 91 white Ford Orion 1.6. Oh, it's the I injection, so you got the EFI, CVH with the EFI, and a gear, and you passed your test in it. Good memories. That's a really nice car. Ford Orion gears 1.6i. They're nice and desirable. I'd like one. I really would like one. Adam, my dream car when I was a teenager was a 2006 Jaguar XK. When they came out, I just loved the look and the design. I think it's one of the nice, sleeky cars going. I think it's a very, very much, I think, a true successor to the XJS. I really do. Excuse me. Oh my God. Sorry, I've been going on for almost 2 hours. I knew this would happen. Aztec, I think the most well-engineered car is a McLaren F1. Interesting viewpoint there. Vevos, hello sir. Welcome to the live stream. I learned in an early Mark II Focus 1.6. I kind of like them, but the interior is very boring. You're not far wrong there. The Mark 1 geometry lesson interior is so much more interesting. It is, because it's full of triangles, isn't it? Triangles. Apart from the circular vents, those circular vents shouldn't be circular. They should have been a different shape. They're the only part of a Mark 1 interior that, for me, doesn't go. It's like, we've spent so much money on this car, let's just make some circle ones and slap them on. Slap 4 of them on the dashboard. Aztec, it was just made up with the best of materials. The McLaren F1, I would argue probably that, I would say so, but for that sort of car, you would expect that. It was made without compromise. The best cars are made from a clean sheet design. Enchantress, Dream Car, Vauxhall Monaro. Oof. That's some dream car, that is. Frank. Neither of them. Sorry, Frank. Oh, right. Neither of them. Ah, okay. I can understand that. Aztec. The black Escort was the Princess Diana's, which was the only black one that Ford made. Yeah, because they all made them in special colours. That was a custom colour. I still can't believe the car sold for that much. I really don't. Like, I don't care, you know. People screw over cars that were sat in by just people. I'm not being funny. It just gave me some confidence, though, that I could sell my Mark 1 Focus for quite a bit of money to one of you guys. If I put it up for grabs, you could buy my Mark 1 Focus and say, this is the most famous Mark 1 in the UK, and it was sat in by Andrew. Would you pay 10 grand for that? Because I'd sell you it for 10 grand. Anyway, Jason, there was a lovely orange European spec Mark 1 Granada Coupe on Saturday. I missed that one. I bet you must have been drooling over that for a few minutes. Daniel, Diana's was the black RS Turbo, and it now hides in Cheshire somewhere. That sounds about right, because it should be hiding, because it's well, I wouldn't want to leave it outside, put it that way. Aztec, Tivinos, most cars are in clubs, so you end up with most of the same cars together in one group. That's true. Tadas, one thought also, when you mentioned it in the video that the mirror handle trip is hard to find on the passenger side. In the EU, this is the driver, and all of them is with the hole for the handle and switch. Oh, really? That's weird. I didn't know that. That's a bit of a funny one. Why didn't they do a blank? Daniel, defo be a Mark 1 or Mark 2? Mark 2 is too common. Yeah, I would say so. Aztec. Oh, reply to Alexandra. Yeah, I get that, but a fast Ford has to be have a Ford engine. Although a Mark 2 is better looking, more aggressive. Actually, I argue not. Some of the best cars have actually been basically had completely different engines from different manufacturers. But remember, the Volvo engine was a collab with Ford in such to be tuned for the RS. I know the purists would probably say it's not, but I do think that it was better. I know the Zetec, the 2-litre RS engine is a Zetec in itself, and that's a Ford engine. But arguably, yeah, that makes it more pure, but it doesn't make it a better car. I just prefer a better car, and if it has some bits and pieces, then that's fine. I mean, you can argue that my Rover 45, it's a Honda underneath, and it is, but it's an amazing car because it's a good collaboration of two cars, or two manufacturers, I should say. Sorry, I've just... Oh, no, hold on, I've lost it. Sorry, guys, hold on. Aztec, how about the Mustang, the match one, or SUVs are quite... Oh, don't say it. Do not say SUVs are quite cool, Aztec, on this channel. I'll have to ban you for saying that. We don't have any of that SUV crap on this channel. No, no. SUVs are not cool to me. They're just very big. No, they're just very big versions of. They don't have any more interior space in them than an ordinary car. They're blobby. The styling is all over the place, and they all look. I mean, funny. They all look the same. Okay, you can say the same for quite a few cars these days. But I just think in an era of where cars are supposed to be getting more fuel efficient, more economical with batteries or fuel, whatever, they have to be lighter and smaller, not bigger. Okay, crash protection comes into its own, but I do think SUVs are designed on the basis of, oh, I need something to protect my kids and my family, so I need more metal around me. No, what we need is better drivers, love, not fatter cars. And that's the problem. And it goes back to what I referred to in a previous live stream. When Sir Alec Izagonis was designing the Mini in the 1950s, he made a very good comment which stands to this day in my eyes. When somebody questioned him how small the car was and its residual ability to absorb an impact, an accident, Alec Izagonis gave him one message, and it was, I designed my car for good drivers. And I think that's where car manufacturers have gone wrong, and EU legislation, crash safety legislation, has gone wrong. It's making cars, it's given people the impression that cars are indestructible cells, and then people's driving standards go down. You give everybody a 1950s Mini and see how nicely and how well people can actually drive and safely, because less driving aids, less crash protection. You don't want to have a crash in a Mini. Vivos, Peugeot 508 is a really good looking, but I don't know enough about them to say. No, Peugeot 508 is one of the nicest looking cars to this day. Do you know what? Thank you. You've just answered my question. If I had to choose a company car today, it would be a Peugeot 508 if I had a good job and my boss was willing to pay for the extra sized car. Believe you me, they are cool, they are sporty, and somehow Peugeot has been, well, at least within the PSA group, Peugeot has been run by car enthusiasts. The interiors are fantastic. The exteriors are as good. Believe you me, Peugeot are doing things that Ford have been doing for years. 508, great car. Great car. Aztec, especially if you have a decent engine in it. Well, an SUV. Daniel, for me personally, I don't know how many of you will agree, but in the last 10 years, cars have lost their wow factor. They all look the same, feel the same, and in many ways, are just many electrics, gizmos and gadgets. I can't say anything that you haven't said there in that paragraph to sum up. They are exactly that. In the last 10 years, that's the way it's gone. And that's now why I will never own a car beyond 2010. Mark III Focus. If I buy an early Mark III Focus, that's the youngest type of car I will own. That's it. Nothing else interests me. Nothing else. The only way to go is build, not buy. Many people have got ideas about that. Or just get money together, buy a couple of nice 90s noughties examples of cars you like, stash them away, try and protect them. If you've got a driveway, put them on the driveway, so you will never have to drive a modern car for many, many years. Naturally, I'm young enough to probably be at an age where I might have to drive an EV. But I've got a feeling that I can't afford, I'll never be able to afford to, like many people. Jason, my biggest bugbear of the facelift Mark 1 are the bumpers, specifically the black trims and the indicators in the headlights, and have to have them on the inside next to the grille. I just don't like that look. That's quite interesting, because I find that look is very joined up, whereas the early Mark ones look like the indicators have just been slashed and thrown at the bumper, and they've landed in that particular spot. Just doesn't look very integral. But I can understand what you say about the trims. I think you get rid of the trims. I think the pre-facelift rear and front bumpers look better because they don't have those body molding trims. Have you guys seen the gear selector on modern cars? It's literally a button or switch. Oh yes, just the rotary, just rotary knobs. We don't have gear levers no more. Tell us, TDDI maximum torque at 1800 RPM. Yeah, that sounds about right. Adam's car was bogging down though. He seems to think that the pump might have not been timed properly, because when we got to, basically, we get to 3000 RPM for an overtake and then the car would bog down. So what Adam was done to do was basically dip the clutch and cut the power, turn the ignition off, sort of deliberately turn the engine off, and then restart it. And then the car will be absolutely fine for another 15 seconds, and it would bog down the next time we got to 3000 RPM. Can't quite work out what's going on, but we reckon the pump timing is not quite right. And I know on the TDDIs, they are a bit of a faff to get right. Chris, I'm good, mate, thanks. I love your channel. Thank you very much. I understand that the Metro Owners Club wouldn't appreciate me going to the dark side, but in my defence, the Metro had brown seats with matching carpet. Oh, that's nasty. I have to admit, I can understand why people bought Fiestas instead of Metros, because Metros just look old. Mark II, even Mark 1 Fiestas don't look particularly dated compared with Metros. No, I can understand that. Yeah, most of my content is Ford and Rover based. Austin, Rover, British Leyland, Ford. So if you like any of that stuff, stay in touch. That's all I'm saying. I try and make it as interesting as I possibly can. So, I try to go to as many car shows as possible because I just like car shows. Who doesn't? Daniel, I messaged you on Messenger with a Mark 1 spot. It was full of glitter and mud. I haven't seen that. I'm so sorry. Oh, no, sorry. I've remembered. Whoa, what a shout out that is. I'm going to have to go to the Messenger because that was not nice to look at. I'm going to show everybody this before. So hold your messages just for a second because I'm going to try and catch up because I'm kind of wary. I'm over 2 hours in. Come on. I'm just getting my message up. I have to show you this and I want people's opinion about it. Trying to get you up. Excuse me. Do you know what, Daniel? I think you might have to send me that again because I do apologise. I had a bit of a clear out of Facebook messages the other day and I think I might have deleted the chat. So if you could send me that photo again right now, I can show people. Okay. Yes. It's pretty awful. Chris, I sold the Metro and bought a mighty Mark II Fiesta 1.4S. That's a nice one. So the 1.4 CVH. So that would have been after 1986 then. What year would have that been then of Mark II Fiesta? Daniel, did any of us like the Orion? I quite like them now, but back in the day, it might have been very different. Thank you, Daniel. I've just got that message. This isn't good. Right. Where's my camera? Right, my camera is there. What do you guys think of this? Oh, I apologise if that's not clear. Next one. This is what we call rinsing somebody's car. Please, please, please. That is just too much. What he's done is he's taken a Mark 1 Focus and then spat out this. What is it? I mean, why would you go anywhere in that car and not have people? You must love attention. You must seriously do it for attention, but people just laugh at it. I really, I'm sorry for embarrassing the owner, but I think you need a wake-up call. I'm sorry, that's just... no one cares about the Tesla. Stop it, says Daniel. Daniel Taylor, BMW engine. Sorry, I've lost it. Taras, blank in on EU passenger, but in UK it is the driver's side for this handle. So if you need urgent trim, you can find it in the EU market. Thank you for that, Taras. That's a really good point, actually. I shall bear that in mind. Might need you as a contact then. if you find something, if I need one, I'll know where to come to. I've paid for stuff to come from Europe before, so it's a couple of weeks. Yes, Aztec, come on. SUVs, no, we don't talk about SUVs on this channel, really honestly. 5-litre supercharged V8 SUVs are complete crap, says Adam. Oh, dearie me, we've got an argument going on. This is such a good live stream, we're now getting arguments. Well, all I need now is somebody to send me... I shall point it out to you, because... What is that? Oh, sorry. It's all right, it's come up on my screen. Yeah, I will point out one thing to those people who are new to the channel. I don't do channel memberships because I don't believe in making people pay to see content that might be slightly better than all my other content, which means my content for everybody else that doesn't pay is a bit worse. I don't believe in that. I believe all my content should be accessible. So I don't have channel memberships. I don't do merch. I do a few odd channel stickers here and there. Right, I've got channel stickers. If you want one, I say £3 for one, £4 for two. If you want details of how to buy them, there is an email on my YouTube page, usually fixingandtinkering@gmail.com. Email me and I'll give you the details. And then I don't do any other merch. I mean, to be fair, I do a bit of merch for the Mark 1 people. I might be doing some key rings in the future. If you just see that there, I might be doing something like that, but overall I don't do anything. However, super chat. Anyway, I don't do anything else, but that's it really. So yeah, I don't believe in making people pay for this sort of stuff. At the end of the day, YouTube is paying me okay. YouTubing is actually okay. It depends. It's you can make it as good as what you want to make it. I've got a feeling that my screen is buffering a little bit slightly. Might be a bit slow. Yeah, so that's my channel in a nutshell. I really think it's a bit desperate that YouTubers ask for this sort of stuff. And to be honest with you, I mean, I plugged into a live stream the other day on another YouTuber's channel. My God, people were paying £5 just for their comment to go to the top. As I say, if you want to use a super chat, it's there. But I don't really encourage people to use it because I try and get through to everyone's comments. If you notice on my YouTube channel, if you put a comment on any of my videos, I make sure that I respond to that comment. I try my best, and it's getting harder the more people that I have and the more comments. Every day it's like 30 different comments. So I just wanted to make that absolutely clear about my channel. I like to be a bit different from the mainstream YouTubers. I don't really consider myself one, and I'm quite straight talking. And there are many things that the bigger YouTubers are doing that I really think, I don't like that. And that's why I don't do it with my own channel. Anyway, back to the live stream. Aztec, have you seen an RR calling some? It's disgusting. I don't even know. I don't even know what it is. Aztec, that's one SUV. That doesn't mean every SUV is awful. Aztec, let's have an SUV video, and let's do a rate an SUV video. You've given me a good idea. I'll write that down on my post-it note for ideas for videos. Okay. We'll see what we can have to do a rate an SUV video. In fact, what I'll do is I'll get an SUV up and we'll have to rate it from 1 to 10. Anyway, don't get me wrong, SUVs won't handle as well. That is definitely one thing. Alex, the brand new 308 is insanely good looking too. Yes, 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 that's another good car. 308, 508, don't mind, either one. 208, it's all right. It's all right. They're not designed for that. Right. Alexander, Stellantis is run by a Portuguese who gave Peugeot its mojo back. Yes. Peugeot lost their way a lot. And I would say so. I would say so. They lost their way a lot and they've gained it back. And it's more like the Peugeots of the 80s, like your 205, your 309. Good, sporty, fun cars. Tadas. And they also have proven that they can make a modern car look good. It looks like a car I want to own. Tadas. Mine has a misfire at cruise and load. When you press the gas to accelerate around 2500 RPM, no idea what the hell it is. I'll tell Adam that, whether he watches this or not, because that, yeah, it is misfiring, but it seems to cure itself. He turned the ignition off, turned it back on, and it revved a little bit, and then it did the same thing again. It went flat. Alex, CVH, constant vibration and harshness. That's the one. That's the word. You know what it is with the CVH? It's because of the angle of the valves. Because it's obviously the word for CVH is compound valve angle hemispherical head. Bit of a mouthful, but the idea of the valves is that they're at an angle, and therefore the springs need to be stiffer. Therefore, there's an awful lot of vibration in that drivetrain. Unfortunately, it's just something they never really cured totally. The best CVH is the 1.8 that they fitted to the Sierra to replace the Pinto, because that engine, actually they designed it to have like a roller finger cam followers, so they were a little bit more quieter at the top. Why they never did that on all the other CVHs, I do not know. Daniel, driven through Halfords with a magnet. Oh, dear me. Keybasher, the original, crashed into the Halfords look. There was actually there's a very rare edition of the Mark 1. I'll show it to you because you're not going to know what it is unless I say. It's called the Focus 130. It was either the 190, T230, T250. They were very rare cars. They were badged, they were registered as Zetex, and they were basically the basis of the WRC rally car. The T230 was, I believe. I will just show you what I mean by that. I'll just show you the T230. Very rare cars. Only about probably 10 of them survived between all four models. And it looks like a Halfords design. Looks like it's proper like early noughties Halfords mod stuff. No, this is it. There's one in blue, there's one in black. That is a T230, and it was a car you could buy. There are brochures as such. There were official brochures for this car. It is the forgotten Mark 1 Focus. Not many people bought them. You can understand why. Adam, that modified Mark 1 Focus makes me feel sick. Hands up, I feel the same. That Focus is ruined. I argue actually it's not even a Focus no more. It's been ruined that much. Chris, Ford Fiesta 1.4S was a 1988. Bang on. I only know that because the 1.4 CVH only came out in 1986. It was actually the CVH became quite a different engine to the previous CVH. There's two different versions. The 1.4 CVH had a revised cylinder head, much better, much more tuned for emissions, and definitely a different animal to the earlier 1.1, 1.3. In fact, the 1.1 CVH was so awful, it offered no advantage over the Ford Valencia engine, the HSS Kent. So they ditched it very early on. But the 1.4 is a good engine. It's a lean burn engine, pre-CAT days, when emissions was important. So I do know a bit. I passed my test in 2001. I'm now on my third Mark 1, currently a 1.6 2003 reg. Nice. Do you have the big... right, I'm going to ask, what part of 2003 was it registered? Which month? And do you have... I'm trying to find this out. Do you have the big fat airbag on the steering wheel with the big badge, or do you have the small one? Because in 2003, there was a few differences. Also, do you have LEDs on the cluster instead of the bulbs for the warning lights? Because in 2003, several things happened with Mark 1s. The cluster went from bulbs to LEDs. The airbag got bigger and bulkier with a big fat badge. Somewhere around 2003 that changed, and I'm trying to work out when that happened, so I asked that. I'll come back to your comment in a second. I'll pick that up. This is what makes you real, Andrew. Thank you very much. Because I don't do it for money. I've got a job for that, you know. And essentially, I don't ask people to pay for my hobby. I don't go to people, oh, if you want me to make lots of lovely content, then you need to you need to pay for channel memberships and pay for merchandise, because then I can buy more of this tat that I cannot even finish. You know, I can buy more cars and end up with more cars that haven't been finished. Yeah, that's the way it comes across. I think you might know the YouTuber I'm referring to, but won't name names. That's not fair. Tadas, one day I will make picture. Some neighbour drives Ford Sierra LX 2 litre a few times already. Oh, it's Pinto engine. Already mine, and this Sierra was parked alongside, so old versus very old. You'll have to do that. It's a really nice one, that. Can't wait. Daniel, can't wait to see my Mark 1 on the channel. I will send over engine pics when it's dry. Please, please. That'll be grand. I have actually completed your video. I did it last week. It may not be going out to September, Daniel. There is a good reason for that. I am stuffed with videos, but I'm not going to put it back any further than early September, I promise. Okay, you'll just have to be patient. In fact, send the engine pics over, because I could probably edit the video a little bit with those pics. Alex, not too much of an argument, just showed it's pretty clear 99 of us despise SUVs. It's each their own, isn't it? But clearly, the problem is, people are buying them, and it's usually people who aren't interested in cars. That's your problem. They don't make cars for car enthusiasts. They make cars for people, the general public. And the general public, well, Aztec, is it a ST170? Mine, no, it says 1.6 Zetec 5-door, last ever lot 2005 reg. Nice. I assume it's blue. Oh, I've lost it now. I've lost it. God, this is going on. Guys, can I just ask for you to slow the comments down just a little bit? Can you just halt what you're going to say? Because I'm going to try and get down. It's really, really, yeah, I'm trying to get through as many as I can here. I assume it's blue. Couldn't afford the insurance on an ST170. It's high. It is high. Although I don't agree with people buying Mark 1s and then making them into an ST170 replica, because to do that, you've got to spend a whole load of money doing that. So you might as well have bought an ST170 and insured it for the same price. I don't get the point. Not today, anyway. Ink blue is a nice colour, Daniel. And I'd love to see a Focus pickup, something like a Chevy or Falcon with a cool V6. No chance, though. Always the way. It might be a weird spin-off. Someone's tried it somewhere, I'm sure. The insurance is always the killer. I'm afraid you're going to find that out, unfortunately, buddy, when you start getting into cars. Insurance, it's not buying the cars, that's the problem. It's the insurance. There's a lot of cars people can afford, but they can't afford the insurance to run them. Imagine in the 80s with all the Cozzies. Well, that is the problem. The reason that Cosworths, RSs, the XRs were all killed off was because of insurance costs. That's why Ford had to ditch it all, unfortunately. Andrew, write it on a post-it and then burn it. Never think of it again. I will do something on it. It definitely needs to be done, because it's just going to rate how crap these SUVs. Let's do a rate my SUV. How on a scale of 1 to 10 of how bad this SUV actually looks? One for good SUV, actually something that you might honestly want to buy in your dreams. 10, awful. I'll have to do that sometime. With all due respect, have you been in an SUV? If so, which one? It's a fair point. I have been in a few myself, but only as a passenger. I can't imagine what they're like to drive, but they're so cramped. Have you been? I've been in a Range Rover Evoque. Flipping heck, it's like looking out of a letterbox. There's no windows. It's literally a letterbox. Daniel, I passed my test in the new Honda CR-V H, and I've seen in many Ford Kuga, Range Rover Velar, they just stink of posh Chelsea tractors. I'm afraid a Range Rover isn't a Range Rover anymore. And I've heard rumours from somebody who works at Jaguar Land Rover that they're thinking of dropping the Land Rover brand for a start. Have you seen the new Jaguar Land Rover branding logo? They're dropping the Land Rover, they're going upwards. But there's rumours they're going to ditch the Range Rover name. I don't know where they're going. I think they're only going to call it Range. That's it. They're ditching Rover completely. Jaguar Land Rover are going to go bust. I'm pretty certain, because the Chinese are going to kick them out of touch, and they already are. Mark my words. An SVR. You're talking to you're preaching to the unconverted Aztec. Daniel, it's not about horsepower. You can't drive a car with low horsepower and have more fun. When you go over a certain horsepower, you get scared of putting it all down. It's true. You end up driving up more sensible. It is true. I'll say this to you, Aztec. You will have more fun in the lower powered cars than higher. It really is not about horsepower, because you can't, legally, you've got speed limits to follow. You cannot use the horsepower that some modern cars use on our roads. It's just not possible. 20 mile an hour roads in the cities, 30 mile an hour roads that used to be 50s, 40s that used to be 60s. It's not possible. You can have a lot of fun with a Mark 1 Focus 1.6. You can even have a 1.4 Focus and you'll have fun in it. You'll have more fun in them cars, I can promise you. That's a good tip, that is. Alex, Euros, uglier Audi Q8. Don't even get me started on that. Taras, I also have an EGR circuit high code. So maybe the EGR valve stuck. Maybe is this why the misfire? I didn't ask him about his EGR valve actually. I will ask him about that because they can get gummed up, can't they? Don't forget you don't get 100% of that power. There is also weight to account for. It's 5.5 seconds, 0 to 60. Yeah, interesting. Hey Adam, you alright, buddy? We are actually taught. We were Tadas. Adam Wilson is who drove me to the Festival of the Unexceptional. So Adam, Tadas has the same problem. 2,500 RPM, he gets misfires in his TDDI. That's kind of similar to what we were getting. It just went flat at 3,000 or just before. Evening, Andrew. I am indeed watching. Interesting to hear about the issues with the TDI, Tadas. You're definitely right. Sorry, I keep repeating what other people say. You're definitely right about Peugeots, Andrew. They are on the point. They are now. They are now. Alex, SVR equals front tyres last 320 miles because they won't wear on the back of a truck. Aztec, it's due to the car being heavy. SVR engines are bulletproof as long as you take care of it. I think this has gone beyond my understanding now, this conversation. And don't drive it. Look, we've only got 14 people left. People are turning off because of this. And don't drive it like an animal all the time. Daniel, so is the Ford Mark 1 Z-Tech lump? Yeah, it's true. Alex, cars aren't just numbers. It could have the best engine in existence and the most luxurious interior, but it's still a bloated SUV. Put that power in a sedan and it will just be plain better. It's true. There is still a market for them for the large families, not to forget off-roading. You can't off-road. Nah, that's rubbish. Some of these SUVs, they're not actually four-wheel drive. They're actually fake. It's actually two-wheel drive only. You can have an optional 4, but it's optional. And often, they're not very good. You can do better than... I think there's lighter front-wheel drive cars that are better. I tell you what, I really would think it's a cheek, and actually a car that gives 2 fingers up to all these SUVs, and it can off-road. Fiat Panda Mark 1 4x4. What a classic. You have one of them, it will wipe the floor with all these. So if you talk about off-roading, there are lighter, nimbler cars that can do better than that. Market for SUVs is badge snob of public. I'll finish your sentence there. It's keeping up with the Joneses. And those SUVs can't do any off-roading other than climbing a sidewalk. It's true. I think you stand corrected. Take a look at modern SUVs. No, I disagree actually. Particularly the Land Rover, but Land Rovers are meant to be off-roaders. That's their thing. If Land Rovers didn't off-road, they've lost the USP. You understand? Other SUVs that aren't Land Rovers, they're no good at off-roading, but they don't need to be because that's not their USP. Land Rovers need to be good, whatever model. They do have independent diffs. You can lock them if you have to. Only SUV I've ever owned is a Discovery 2 TD5. Yeah, but they're not really... Full stop, modern SUVs are annoying. I wouldn't really class a Discovery as an SUV, really. Well, I suppose they are, but a really old one. The Evoque is the smallest Range Rover. I've driven a Cayenne, an Evoque and a GLC. They were both subpar compared to cars. They were not to be designed to be good handling, but Tadas, what is funny is that it's still... Well, sorry, I'm jumping from one to the other. We've got a couple of conversations going on. I'm sorry you have to go, buddy. Thanks, Aztec, for coming in. You've put some important points on the table, and you've started the old SUV conversation. I think it's quite good to talk about these things, and I like people's opinions, and I can see that here. I will see you soon. You take care, buddy. Take care. And enjoy your summer holidays. As I say, Tadas, what is funny is that it still does pull, but shakes bad. Adam, yours doesn't do that, does it? I never got a sense of that at all. It just went flat. I definitely think something's not quite right there, and I definitely look at the EGR. Adam, EGR valve, have you had it cleaned out at all? Alex, it wasn't just handling. The car just plain sucks. It's a whale, too big. Not much more space inside. No much more boot space. That's another point. Nothing. Awful bloated body shell. Just no. It is now. I think they're designed in that way now. And I also think SUVs are designed deliberately to house battery packs underneath the floor. I do think that there has to be some re-engineering of electric cars. Electric cars have got to be smaller than SUVs. I understand that SUVs kind of align themselves, that body shell of an SUV aligns itself well to an electric vehicle because you need the space under the floor for the batteries. But there needs to be more of an innovative way, especially as battery technology is getting better, less battery packs, more in a smaller space. I do argue that there is some sort of, there needs to be something done there. I hope so. I hope so. Tadas, cleaning sucks because you need to remove the air intake, and for that you need to remove the exhaust manifolds. I know. Not great. Adam, enjoying the live stream. Thanks, buddy. Mine has had its EGR blanked off. When I fitted the new inlet manifold, which I like because it was new old stock. It's such a strange problem, but as you say, it's still lots of fun, even with lack of power. An EGR blanked off, that should provide way more happiness for the engine. The only reason they're fitted is for emissions. How does it deal with MOTs then, Adam? Tadas, unless you spray direct into the intake and risk hydro damage. Well, there has been a video. If there was a channel called Hubnut, do you believe it? A very famous channel in this UK, Tadas, you may know it. He has a Citroen Berlingo, and he's been trying to cure some problems with that car. Turns out his EGR valve was a bit stuck, and he ended up spraying shitloads of EGR cleaner and treatment into the EGR, and he had a diesel runaway. Luckily, well, he didn't catch it on camera, but there was a runaway situation. It literally revved itself to 9,000 RPM for about 20 seconds. It literally ran on its own oil. Well, the actual treatment oil, carb cleaner, EGR cleaner. You have to be careful, really careful. Alex, fun fact, someone I know actually has a pre-facelift TDDI with the facelift front swapped in. Oh, that's interesting. I've seen that happen a few times. That's quite an interesting modification. Nick, speaking of manifolds, the one I've bought has been posted with all the fixings. Great, well done. Well, that'll be a new video, Nick, and I'm sure people will be looking forward to the next video with your car where we change the exhaust downpipe manifold because the flex is gone on the manifold. Nick's car has the original exhaust, but the manifold flexi is gone. It's cheaper to just replace the whole manifold itself with an exhaust manifold gasket and all the fixings. We'll get that done on the day. Don't you worry about it, Nick. And we've got a new gear badge as well, and a few bits and pieces that we're going to have, and that I can't wait. Adam, the EGR valve is part of the manifold on these. Can't remove them. Blanking it off on the TDDI doesn't cause problems on these, unlike the newer cars where it would throw up a code. Yeah, that's interesting. Adam, must be going. Been another great stream. Take care. See you very soon, sir. 2 hours 38. I'll go for another 20 minutes. Probably keep this going until I can. Tadas, so my plan, buy used intake with the EGR, buy all the seals for the turbo and hope some leaks of old oil. Yes. I mean, to be fair, Alex, I'm sorry, Adam, have you ever thought it might be something to do with the turbo? I'm not familiar. I've got to be honest, I've never owned a car with a turbo. But there is something limiting that. Maybe it is the timing. Maybe it is just fractionally off. So it's not advancing in the way it should. But usually with pump timings, even if it's slightly wrong, we are, to be fair, actually I didn't mention Tadas, the other symptom that Adam's car has at idle, it does slightly misfire sometimes, but inconsistently. So it's not just at the higher end. The EGR, bane of my existence. I think everybody can agree with that. As for the MOT, I have a friendly MOT tester. Good, I've got one of them. Lovely. Yeah, I tend to give them a drink every so often. Got to be done. The emissions on a Mark 1 is very difficult, and I think mine would still pass, but still, I don't. Dirty EGR caused by the C222 stall. It's an automatic and smell like burning with clouds of white smoke from the exhaust. Ah, God, that's nasty. Tadas, mine is pulsating idle after gear disengaging a bit. When you're going into neutral. When was the last time you had the, have you ever had the pump timed up? If the belt's been done, I presume. Just a weird question there. You know, we've had a few people drop off. I'll tell you what, this has been a really good live stream. Idle control valve. No, don't have them. That's only on the petrols, Nick. Only on the petrols. The diesel models do not have any of that. In fact, it's a lot mechanical. It does sound like pump timing, Adam, because it's at the lower end and at the higher end. If it was just at the higher end, I would definitely say EGR related, but then you've blown yours off. So yeah, timing, I think, just not quite there. I've got to be honest with you, petrol or diesel Mark 1s can be a bit funny with idling. Idle control valves or not. The software, the EEC5 software in the ECUs is quite basic. But code is for EGR. Oh, sorry. After the pump failure, but after that was the belt done, but code is for EGR. Sounds like it. It sounds like it needs all to come off, Tadas. That's my opinion. It would have to be done as a measure of you've got to tick the box. You have to tick the box. Whatever the cheapest job is to do. But I was amazed by that engine. I really was amazed, and that the engine is. I've never seen a TDDI engine look as tidy. It makes you want to own one when you look at Adam's car and realise how tidy it is under the engine bay. So I didn't show that to you. Any love for the Mark 1 saloon? There was a lot of love. When the green saloon turned up on the Festival of the Unexceptional, we all, I think 3 or 4 of us, went over in mass to have a look at it. And I'm glad the owner is now a member of the Ford Focus Preservation Group. He's made himself known. I didn't catch him. He must have literally parked up and walked off straight away, because we saw him come in and we all walked over in 5 minutes. And he's probably watching this now. So hello, buddy. And I hope you're watching, because you've got a stonkingly nice saloon with the spoiler, which is an American thing. I did think there was a few modifications, but very, very tasteful modifications. And for the first time, I actually feel like I could own a saloon Mark 1. I think it looks interesting enough, but I'd have to put a spoiler. I think they look good with the spoilers. I think they look too plain without the spoilers. I think that's something Ford didn't get right. A gear saloon in dark red It's such a sharp but elegant car. Oh, the red. Yes. Pepper red. I think it's pepper red. Might be pepper red. Tanas, I think the chain needs to be done anyway someday. But when it's warm, I have a clack, like it might be chain worn. That might be a tensioner more than the chain. So I'll definitely look into that before too long. But it's just a little clack. No, it's not too bad. And the saloon is absolutely lovely, very classy. Yeah, I thought that if you wanted a posh saloon, you know, gear, chrome, didn't have leather seats, but then again, the leather seats don't look as nice in beige. I think they look better in the Bussac beige material that those seats have. Wood, two-tone, very, very. It's almost like the Jaguar pipe or Rover pipes and slippers version of a Ford Focus Mark 1, but with a spoiler, which makes it sporty. Add velour and wood to it, of course. The velour seats, yes, it's named Bussac, but it's a velour material. It's the same what you got on the door card. Chris, yes, it's registered March 2003, xenon lights, and has the big airbag on the dash. No traction control, bit tappety, but she's honest. Sounds like it needs oil, fresh oil. I recommend a thorough oil change because it shouldn't be too tappy. They're not as refined, the Sigmas, compared to the later ones, but they shouldn't be too tappy. That's interesting. So it is a March 2003 car with the big airbag. I'll keep that in mind now. Thank you for telling me. No, that's the main thing. As long as it's an honest car and it works for you, that's good. No traction. No, most of them didn't have traction control at all. Tell us, I love the gear interior. Absolutely. This live stream has gone off at a tangent, but because new people have come into it, it is the way it is. Adam, what did you pass your driving testing? I might have asked you that before and I've forgotten. Mine is 2003 and it says the big one and the bulb speedo. What month was it? I forgot what month yours was. Adam, I've got to go. Cracking live stream. I'll speak to you soon. No problem. See you soon, Adam. I'm going to end it in a second anyway. We've kind of getting to the end and I'm chatted. Yeah, bulb speedo. How to check what month? You should have a registration document, or some form of registration document saying when it was registered, Tadas. Yeah, there should be. But anyway, I am probably going to leave this live stream here. Thank you so much all for joining. And for those who are watching after it's gone live, I hope you stayed awake or watched this in half an hour segments, because sometimes people switch off. The theme was first cars, and it certainly was. And we've had a lot of people share their thoughts, and it's interesting. Oh, before we go, one last message. Tadas, the 22nd of February. Ah, interesting. Oh, Adam, I passed my test in a 2017 Fiesta EcoBoost. Good one. So that set you up, that has. That's why you've got a love for Fiestas. Nice one. Although, EcoBoost. EcoBoom. I shouldn't be too harsh because the later ones are better than the rest of them. But yeah, I'm really pleased, and that's the idea of these live streams. But if you're new to the channel, I'm afraid every single live stream that I do, whether I do a Rover 45 live stream or a Ford Focus Mark 1 live stream, or talking about the colour of my hair, the conversation always ends up Focus Mark 1s. I'm afraid the theme of my channel and the passion and enthusiasm from the amount of people that I have and that follow me is immense. So I am going to leave you there. I will see you, Alex. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate you, Alex, because you had a lot of insight to these. And don't forget to take a like. Good night, guys. Take care, guys. And please like this if you can. You take care. I'll see you next time. See you, Tadas. How do I end this? Oh, it's big X in the corner, of course. All right, guys.